The Jake Asman Show will begin shortly. Thanks to all these great Patreon members who help support the show. Get your super chats ready. Jake will be here in just a moment. If you love the New York Jets, this is the place to be. And now, the Jake Asman Show.
It's a football Friday. What is the latest with the New York Jets? We asked Jets insider Nick Faria that and much more. It's the Jake Asman Show. Let's hit it and get it started.
I let the organization down, and I let the players down, and that burns me. It really does. This season's on me, and we're going to work our ass off to get this shit exactly where it needs to be.
A new chapter for the Jets has started. Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji are tasked with shaping the future of this franchise. Will they be the ones to finally get it right? We will be here for every step of the journey on the Jake Asman Show, breaking down all the storylines, every game, and everything in between. Please subscribe and hit the like button below. Super chats, baby. Cut the line. The Jake Asman Show starts right now.
Here we go, Jet fans. Welcome in, everybody. We are presented by FanDuel. Click the like button. Make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Next week, we are live from the Senior Bowl. We'll be live from their Radio Row, broadcasting the show, bringing you great interviews with prospects, draft analysts. Dylan Terriman, Dom C will be there. I'm looking forward to getting down to Mobile. Hopefully, the snow allows me to get there on time on Monday, and we'll give you comprehensive coverage from really the hub of the NFL universe next week. So looking forward to being down there. Again, make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications, and you won't miss any of the content live from the Senior Bowl. Let's say hello on a Football Friday to our guy, Nick Faria, who covers the Jets for JetsXFactor.com. Nick, fancy schmancy background. Appreciate you hopping on, man.
Of course. Great to be back on, Jake.
And let me start with this. Happy birthday. Today is Nick's birthday. So all super chats and gifted memberships go towards the lunch I'm going to buy Nick in honor of his birthday.
There's no need for that. I appreciate it, though. Appreciate it.
So a lot to talk about with the Jets. Let's start with the defensive coordinator search. What is the latest there? What are you hearing?
Yeah, same thing as pretty much always. It's currently, in my opinion, weak Martindale at the top. These other candidates are certainly going to get in consideration as well. The one thing I'll point out that I think helps the Jets in a big way is the fact that Christian Parker was hired by the Dallas Cowboys. That hiring, people are going to look at it and say, well, Parker didn't interview for the Jets, so why does it matter? It matters because it's another team that has filled their defensive coordinator role, and Jim Leonard is not hired yet. I think most people would agree Leonard's probably the number one choice for fans, for analysts, the work that he's done in Denver, the work he did in Wisconsin. Truly fantastic work for a young coordinator. He couldn't be good wherever he goes. If people aren't happy about Wink Martindale and they want Jim Leonard, then you want to make sure that every single coordinator hire is filled without his name there. The Cowboys taking Parker is a positive thing because it inches a little bit closer to that potentially happening in the future.
Do you think Jim Leonard would take the Jet job over just staying as an assistant head coach, DB, passing game coordinator in Denver? Because you can make a case he's better off maybe just waiting another year and then being a DC with a more established program. Whereas if he takes the Jets job, we'd be pumped as fans. But there is that possibility if the Jets have a terrible year, they blow up the whole coaching staff, and Jim Leonard could be one and done with Aaron Glenn after next year.
Yeah, I think that there's certainly an argument for that, particularly a person of his caliber who has done such great work. Why hurt yourself on a defense that may not have the talent that he had in Wisconsin or in Denver? But the one thing that I will say, and I do think Aaron Glenn does a good job of this, he can recruit coaches. Chris Banjo is a great example. He was able to bring him in from Denver with that prior experience, and Banjo currently the best assistant coach on this roster. I like the fact that he was able to bring in Tanner Engstrand. He's able to bring in some competent coaches, but you need to see more because for as much as we can talk about Engstrand and Banjo being competent, the Steve Wilkes hiring is a major blemish on his resume. Charles London, the struggles there, major blemish. also have to mention Steve Hyden is returning, the expectation, the work that they did along the offensive line. So it's a mixed bag right now in terms of his coaching staff. But if he can get Leonard to buy in, I think that changes the entire complexion of the future of this defense, because they're going to add. They're going to add $90 million in cap space. 4 picks in the top 50 overall selections. They're going to add to this defense. It's going to look a lot different next season. The question is, who's going to be leading it? Is it going to be a guy like Martindale, or is it going to be a guy like Leonard that kind of transforms the potential, the ceiling of what they could be?
Give me your thoughts on the reports that several top DC candidates declined to even interview for the job. Is that a big deal? Your thoughts on that?
I find it terrible to say this, but it's kind of somewhere in the middle. It is not the end of the world, as some people may want to say, but it's certainly not a good look. I mean, you look at it right now, if you're not able to get the top coordinators, it shows that those guys don't feel that this team is right for them for whatever reason. Maybe it's Aaron Glenn being on the hot seat this year. Maybe it's the fact that they look at the defense and say, your best player is Jamian Sherwood. That's not good enough for me. I need to move forward and go somewhere with a little bit more stability and talent. That's also a possibility. But the other thing that I will say is you are seeing a lot of really good coaches turn down really good teams for really no rhyme or reason. No one really understood. Mike McDaniel was a potential finalist for the Detroit Lions offensive coordinator, and he spurned them and said, no, thank you. I want to go to Los Angeles and coach the Chargers up. For whatever reason, that was his decision. It's not because the Lions are bad, or another example is Philadelphia. The Eagles are bad. It's just a matter of sometimes personal preference does get in the way. McDaniel wants to be somewhere warm, somewhere he can control the controllables in terms of weather, in terms of overall variables. Not every coordinator is like that. So while I do think it's a bad look for Glenn that he can't get some of these top names in, I also think that it's a little bit further than just Aaron Glenn stinks, everything stinks, we need to blow it up and start over. It's far more complex of an answer that I think fans really want to get into.
Nick Faria is our guest. Comments, questions, super chats, cut the line. Today's raffle prize, I think, is pretty damn cool, ladies and gentlemen. It is a Joe Namath replica Super Bowl III bobblehead. That's right. So everyone knows this time of year we're talking about Super Bowl. I saw a Super Bowl commercial yesterday that featured the iconic Namath point running off the field. Well, you can have that in bobblehead form today on the show. We'll raffle this one away. At the end, will look great on your TV shelf, your man cave, wherever you want to display it. But cool giveaway, something a little different than jerseys or signed items. We'll do that on both shows today. Your chance to win this bobblehead. Plus, when you enter, you are entered in the weekly raffle every Tuesday on the show for a signed Curtis Martin helmet, a signed, speaking of Joe Namath helmet. Those are the top prizes in this week's Asmaniac raffle. Nick, ultimately, make a prediction. Who is the Jets defensive coordinator when it's all said and done?
I said it when Aaron Glenn first answered the question on what he's looking for as defensive coordinator. I think it's going to be Wink Martindale. I from the very beginning, it felt like a logical fit based on his blitz-heavy mindset, his man principles. I've always thought that this was, from the beginning, a logical fit for a coach in Aaron Glenn who needs some stability and someone who he can trust that understands the position he's in.
Why is Wink such a good fit, though? Who else is trying to hire Wink? He wasn't good at Michigan. His last year with the Giants wasn't great. You just look at his years with the Giants. There were moments, but he has not been an elite defensive coordinator since 2020 when the Ravens were 6th in defense, and then the previous 2 years they were in the top 4. What makes Wink a good candidate other than he's a name that people know?
I think it's two-pronged, kind of like the last point that I was mentioning before. Aaron Glenn needs someone who he doesn't feel he has to take the reins and become the play caller. If he has to take the reins and be the defensive play caller this year, it's going to be an awful look, and it's probably going to be the end for him because it means that the team is not very good. In that mindset,
he's a defensive coach. Shouldn't he be more involved in the defense anyway?
In the same way that Nick Sirianni or Dan Campbell took over play calling duties or took more responsibility on the offensive side of the ball, it wasn't a good look down the stretch because it showed that there were problems you could not fix with your coordinator. I think that's where trust has to come into this. I think the fact that Aaron Glenn will look at Martindale's success in Baltimore, 4 years where they were a top 5 defense, and the Giants that 1 year in 2022 where they were winning games because of Saquon Barkley and their defense. I think they were a very underrated group that year in general. And I do think when it comes to Martindale's scheme, as it does for any man press coverage kind of team, it comes down to the players. It really comes down to the players. If you're saying that my guys are better than your guys, then your guys need to actually show that. That's where we can argue if the Jets are right to be a man-heavy team, and I wouldn't disagree with you. They don't have the personnel for that right now, but they want to be man-heavy. They want to blitz a lot, which means that these players have to step up eventually. And in Glenn's mind, Martindale is someone who has coached for a while, who has that experience, and who he can trust going into the season where he's not going to have to take over play calling at some point this year.
I just think if you're hiring Wink, you're doing the Steve Wilkes thing all over again. Like, I'd rather take a big swing on an up-and-coming guy like Banjo was and hope that you could get the guy a year before everyone knows who that guy is than a retread in Wink who hasn't been successful in years.
The Minnesota guy, Jones, love him, the work that he did in Minnesota with the Vikings as a secondary coach. I think that's a perfect example of that, someone who hasn't called plays, but you can see the trajectory of his career moving forward. I think that's well within concern and perfectly a fair comment to make because in the modern NFL, you better have a young offensive and young defensive mind to sort of keep the ideas fresh. I wrote an article, I don't know if it's published yet on Jets X Factor, but there was a conversation that the late Jim Irsay had with Dan Rooney, of the owner of the Steelers, back in, I think it was like 2023. And Irsay asked him, why do you hire so many young coaches? And Rooney said, and this is important for Jets fans to understand, Rooney said, because these are guys that do not come in with the mindset of my system works. I need the players to fit my system. Young coaches change their system to fit what the players are good at. So to your credit, Jake, and I've said this in terms of offensive mindset as well, it may be better served for the Jets to get an inexperienced guy who grows with the team and actually can develop and adapt to circumstances instead of someone who is hell-bent on playing one particular way.
I just don't believe that Wink Martindale, with his outdated schemes, is going to present any sort of upside. You need the upside higher here. If you're Aaron Glenn, the only way you're likely the head coach a year from now is if your team overachieves, if there's real development, if there's, some surprises that teams aren't expecting. Teams know exactly. Yeah, they know exactly what you're going to get with a Wink Martindale defense. No one else is hiring him to be a DC. He's just trying to get back into the NFL. His agent is going out there and contacting every reporter on the beat to try and get his client a job and put his name out there. And to me, reading through the tea leaves, they all want Wink to be the DC, so they have a source in the building now because they could say they helped get him the job. There's no one else interviewing Wink Martindale, so the idea that he's the favorite or he's just like great defensive mind, if that was the case, he'd have more than one DC interview than just with the Jets, who were the worst defense in the league last year.
I'm not arguing that, but it comes down to what Aaron Glenn wants. It doesn't come down to what the interest is of certain teams around the league. Because if that was the case, the Jets would be interviewing a lot of different candidates outside of the circle that they've already done. Look, we don't know what it's going to look like if Wink Martindale is a pick. There's no guarantee that he is either. I just gave my opinion of what I think is going to happen. They could very well hire Jones. They could hire Leonard, and it changes the entire complexion of the defense. It's just a matter of what I've seen, what Aaron Glenn has talked about and what he wants as a coordinator, and making the informed decision that way.
I just think if Wink is the DC, that personality fit as well is another thing. Like Aaron Glenn and Wink Martindale, could he be able to get along? Like that's what happened with Wink and Brian Daboll. It didn't work out, and that's why Wink got fired.
I think that was more of an indictment on Brian Daboll, quite frankly. I was in those rooms when I started, when I was at AM New York, and I was in some of those practice rooms, and you could tell the vibe between Daboll and his assistants was just off. I don't get the same sense from Glenn that I do with Daboll.
Comments, questions, super chats. They cut the line. Nick Faria joining us from somewhere in what looks like episode 1 of Star Wars Phantom Menace, the final fight scene when Darth Maul went up against Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi. I believe that's where you are, somewhere in a galaxy far, far away.
I'm in Naboo right now.
Naboo, well done. It's Nick's birthday, everyone, so wish him a happy birthday, and we are going to give away a Joe Namath Super Bowl III bobblehead on the show today. So send in a super chat to qualify. It's a Friday, so we'll do something special. $5 super chats. We'll get you a raffle ticket today. Normally the threshold is 10, but today anyone who gets in with 5 will get you in there. And a reminder, we will be at the Senior Bowl next week on the show. Looking forward to being out there. I bring that up, Nick, because you wrote a story today on JetX talking about the prospects to watch specifically at the Senior Bowl from a Jet lens. So let's talk about that. Give us your breakdown on what we as Jet fans need to be honing in on next week at the Senior Bowl.
Well, the easy answer to that is going to be, of course, the quarterback position. What does Garrett Nussmeier look like? What does Diego Pavia look like? Those two guys are going to be mid to late round picks that I think the Jets are going to be interested in or could have interest in moving forward in the draft process. Nussmeier, a lot of people were higher on him at the start of the season. He really struggled this year at LSU. Pavia has been fantastic at Vanderbilt, but is he an NFL quarterback? Those questions remain to be seen. This is really the first year I think Jet fans can confidently say you do not have to watch the Senior Bowl for offensive linemen. And I think that's a feather in the cap of Darren Muji getting Armand Membu, getting the development of the players down correctly. They don't really need quality offensive linemen in the first or second round. They need depth. That's it. And that's a great problem to have when you have an offensive line like this, as talented as they are. But then you turn your sights to the defense and you look at some of these guys that are going to be competing at the Senior Bowl. This defensive line class is insanely talented. Ruben Bain, David Bailey. I mean, two guys that have just dominated college football for the last few years. And then, of course, the secondary, they're no slouches either. There's always one or two players who shine at the Senior Bowl, and they turn it into a really, really good NFL career. The one, obviously, that I'm thinking of right off the bat is Quinyon Mitchell. Came out of Toledo. No one really knew much about him. They knew he was good, but they didn't know how good. And then he went to the Senior Bowl and dominated so much that he didn't play in the game, and he was a first-round pick because of that performance. So the way that I look at it, who's going to be this year's Quinyon Mitchell? It's going to be fun to see. It's going to be very exciting.
Quarterback-wise, Nussmeier intrigues me the most because a year ago, Todd McShay, for example, had him going number 1 overall to the Jets in his way too early mock draft. So it just shows you never know year to year how these things go at that position. But he is talented. He's a guy that was banged up this year. LSU was a mess. They fired their coach, of course, in the middle of the season. Is he a guy that could play himself into the conversation for the Jets?
I think absolutely. But the question is where. Right. The question's where. He's not going to be a first-round pick, and I don't think he's going to be a second-round pick either. If he impresses enough, and Aaron Glenn says, yeah, 3rd round, I'll take him. 4th round, I'll take him. Whatever it ends up being, I think they'll absolutely do that. Maybe they fall in love with him more than they do with Ty Simpson. Maybe they love him more than a Fernando Mendoza, potentially, a Trinidad Chambliss. You know, there's a lot of different things that can happen over the next couple of months that changes the trajectory of where the Jets are going to go at the quarterback position.
Comments, questions, super chats. They cut the line. Appreciate everyone being tuned in here on a Football Friday. We will get back to the Jets in a moment, but Nick, I want to get your thoughts on the coaching carousel. Of all the openings, there were 10 following the Sean McDermott ouster in Buffalo. 5 have been filled so far. Give me your big takeaways from some of these vacancies that have been filled and the ones that are still out there.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I'm pretty surprised of how many defensive minds that have been hired and are going to be hired. I mean, McDermott's probably going to get a coaching job. I would expect him to go to Arizona. Keep an eye on the Evero guy, the defensive coordinator at the Carolina Panthers. I've heard some rumblings that he could be in the conversation for the Raiders job. So there's going to be a lot of defensive minds in this year's carousel. And to me, I look at that as a good thing for the Jets. If you will let me, Jet fans. Next year, if they're just as bad in 2026, they're going to hire a new coaching staff. you're not going to have a run of defensive coaches like this again. You're going to hire an offensive mind, and you're going to have a much deeper offensive pool to work with, in my opinion, over those next couple weeks where you start interviewing coaches. So a little surprised at how much defense has gone on for the head coaching position so far this year. It could obviously change, but certainly there is a shift in the NFL, and it is focusing more on stopping the run and confusing quarterbacks more than anything else.
It's going to be fascinating to see what the Raiders do. I think all signs point to them taking Fernando Mendoza, Nick, but I mean, you've said on the show before, you don't think it's a foregone conclusion, but he did officially declare for the draft. So after appearing on Jimmy Fallon last night, Mendoza will officially be in the draft, as we all knew. All right, a week out from everyone going crazy over your Mendoza take, do you still believe he is not a lock to go on?
I'm only enhanced in that belief. Because we don't know.
Gun to your head, you'd bet on Fernando Mendoza not being the first pick in the draft.
Yeah. No, I think, gun to my head right now, I think the Raiders will take the tackle Maui Goa or the best defensive player over Fernando Mendoza. And again, it comes down to a couple things. First off, do we know that they're not going to be in on Kyler or Tua or one of these veterans that's going to be made available? That's number one. Number two, who's going to be the head coach? If it's a young offensive mind, then yeah, they'll probably go Mendoza, but they are interviewing a lot of defensive candidates too. There's a chance where the defensive coach comes in and says, I'm getting the best available player because my team stinks everywhere. I'm going to go Avril Reese. I'm going to go Maui Go. I'm going to go Bain with the first overall selection because I'm not all in on the prospect that Mendoza is. Listen, the Raiders do weird crap on draft day. They've always done weird crap. I think there's a possibility that absolutely they may pass on Mendoza.
Why did they tank, Nick, to not take a quarterback? That's what I don't quite understand. They sat down and alienated their best player in Max Crosby, who was so upset that he wasn't allowed to play that he's posting videos on Instagram of him dunking a basketball to say, hey, I'm healthy. Like, they shut down Bowers when he was still able to play. Like, they did all that to take a tackle or a defensive player?
We don't know what the new coach is going to be. This new coach could come in and say, I do the Vontae Mack no matter what kind of thing. Yeah, we have the quarterback here, but the better player is on defense. Everyone agrees the best players overall in this draft are on defense. It's not at quarterback. I think there's a possibility where if it's ever with the pick or even a Brian Flores, God forbid, that the Raiders go out and say, we have so many needs, let's just fortify with the safest pick we can with the first overall selection.
I hope you're right. I think if they weren't going to take Mendoza, though, they would trade out, and that's where the Jets would have to decide how much are they willing to give if they like Mendoza to move up one spot.
Sure, that's also a possibility. But again, I have seen the Raiders do ridiculous things over and over and over again on draft night.
But it's a new regime. Like, you can't just assume they're always going to be bad. That'd be like saying the Lions are always going to be bad because that's their history. Like, they figured it out.
It's still Davis that's the owner. We can say that Tom Brady's running the show. We can say, oh, it's Spytek and Brady and doing all these different things. If Davis wants his guy, he's going to want his guy. If the coach wants his guy, he's going to want his guy. Eventually, we have to sit here and say, they do a lot of weird stuff, and this is not a quarterback-heavy class where the Raiders can go and say, we can throw Fernando Mendoza in here with as bad of our offensive line as it is, and he's going to be perfectly fine. I look at this and say the Raiders are not a quarterback away. They have a lot of holes to fill.
Neither were the Patriots, though. They still took Drake May. The Commanders weren't thought to be a quarterback away when they took Jaden Daniels.
It's a big difference, huge difference. They were transcendent prospects in that quarterback class. Fernando Mendoza, I love him as a prospect. I think he's Jared Goff. He is not a transcendent quarterback prospect a la Drake May, a la Jaden Daniels. That's a completely different quarterback class that is based on how talented all three were going into the draft. Drake May, if he came out this year, is the number one overall pick. Jane Daniels, same thing. Like they were so unbelievably talented that year that, okay, you didn't need a quarterback. You had other issues. Well, you still take them anyway and you sit them.
Ladies and gentlemen, many think Nick Faria is on drugs. He claims to be sober on his birthday, but I'm questioning that. Anthony Logerato is the first to enter the raffle today. Appreciate your support, Anthony. He gifted 5 channel memberships. Let's go. The following 5 listeners are channel members now, courtesy of Anthony Logerato, Jason, DJN, Real KR, Anthony Sally, and Ryan Rivera. Appreciate everyone tuned in today. Let's get to some super chats. Also want to continue the conversation about not just the Jets in the draft, but their plan in free agency and specifically the options at quarterback. Speaking of that, Jay with a super chat for us. He writes in, what are your thoughts on Malik Willis and the ability for the Jets to potentially sign him?
I would expect the Jets to be in on him, but I do think he's going to end up in Miami. Hafley's already kind of said he really likes Willis, and it would make sense for him to come in from Green Bay, bring Willis over. That's his quarterback. I think he's far more likely to go to the Dolphins than the Jets.
Super chat here from Ryad. Nick, name 5 realistic guys you think can start week 1 at quarterback.
In the draft?
Just in general, 5 options for the Jets who you think have a legit chance to be the week 1 starter.
Kyler is at the top of the list. I'll throw in Mendoza as well because I think that's a possibility. I'll throw in Tanner McKee because I do think he's going to get traded. Think. I mean, I guess Geno 4th, Malik 5th. It's not a group that you really get high on, but to me, I think that the 3 options at the top are Kyler, Mendoza, McKee that would start potentially week 1.
Bob says, Jake, get this clown off the air. He's bringing down the credibility of your channel.
Listen, guys, you know, what is the argument here? Is the argument that my belief based on NFL history that the Raiders are going to pass on a quarterback to take a better defensive player? Or is it the fact that Mendoza is not going to be available for the Jets, so why bother even talking about it? Like, so many different things happen on draft night, and I've already talked to scouts about this. They have consistently said, as good as Mendoza is, and he's a good prospect, no one's denying that. But if he was in the 2024 draft class with May, Daniels, and Williams, is he the number 1 overall pick? Of course not. Of course, he's not the same guy.
Could he be the number 1 pick based on many people I spoke to a year ago over Cam Ward? Like, why wouldn't the Raiders take him? They tanked to get the quarterback.
But we don't know if they tanked. First off, we know
to get a lineman.
We know they tanked. But the objective of the organization can shift if they really like the plan of the head coach. If Brian Flores says, listen, we have a lot of problems. Let's just bolster the defense first, and then we'll fix the offense as it goes on later on. That is a legitimate thing that has happened throughout NFL history. We can't just sit here and say it's not going to happen because Nick is talking out of his ass. NFL history shows what teams like to do. And when you have a clear-cut quarterback that is the number 1 quarterback of a class who isn't exactly the top prospect, teams will say, screw that, we're going to take the defensive player.
Ladies and gentlemen, Nick Faria is with us. He's joining us live from Planet Naboo, which is the famous site of one of the greatest duels in the galaxy far, far away. Obi-Wan versus Darth Maul. I see they've changed it from like a red exterior behind you to now yellow in present day, Nick. So that's pretty cool.
It's a great spot, man. Great spot.
Gabe the Plane in the house. He's in our raffle for 1. We're letting $5 super chats count today. A little Football Friday special. He says, Nick, what do you think of the Jets attacking wide receiver at 2 and leaving defense for pick 16 since the draft's packed with defensive linemen and linebackers?
Let's say Mendoza is off the board at 1. You know, the Jets have to pick 2. There's no set quarterback. They're going to go best available player, and the best available player is on defense. Whether it's Reese, whether it's Bain, we can argue for hours on who the better prospect is. They're going to take one of them. And then they'll probably go potentially receiver at 16. They could go quarterback at 16, but they would be far more flexible after taking arguably the best non-quarterback of this draft class.
I just think if there's not a consensus, though, on the defensive player, and we all believe these wide receivers are really, really good, like every mock has them going from 3 to 6 I've seen with Tate and Tyson there. Why can't the Jets just take the best receiver at 2 and say we're dummy-proofing our offense for the future of whoever the quarterback might end up being?
It's certainly a possibility, but the way that I look at it, where is the glaring need right now? It's at quarterback, it's at edge rusher, it's at safety, and it's at wide receiver too. But if we're talking about the legitimacy and the understanding of what positional value is needed more, it's the edge rusher going in. It's just the edge rusher moving forward.
Hit the like button. Comments, questions, super chats. Ozzy Fullers has gifted a membership. Thank you very much, Ozzy. Your thoughts on David Bailey, Nick? Because the more I watch his tape, the more I think he's going to be in play at number 2.
I think he will. It's very, very early. It's very early to say, oh, this guy's going here, this guy's going there, which is why I'm not all in on Mendoza going 1, because a lot of things can happen. With Bailey, he's in between Bain and Reese. And then the question is, okay, what do the intangibles look like? Can they go in and be an every down player? When you are taking the 2nd overall pick, you are not taking a guy that is a Will McDonald player that can only rush the passer. You are bringing in someone who can rush the passer, make big-time plays, and stop the run as an edge rusher. I've seen Bailey do it in the Big 12. I've seen Bain and Reese do it in their conferences. But at the end of the day, I think he's probably 3rd on that list of edge rushers behind the other 2, at least right now.
Comments, questions, super chats. They cut the line. If you got a question for Nick, write it in. Nick, as far as the Jets' just overall approach to free agency, are they going to be big spenders? Are they going to go after some of the top guys? Last year, it was all 1-year deals for the most part outside of Fields and Stevens. They didn't sign any players that were 30 or older besides the 1-year deal to Josh Reynolds. Kind of look ahead to the free agent approach, in your opinion. What should we expect as fans?
I think they're going to be aggressive. I think they're going to have to overpay in some spots. Certain players are going to say, listen, if you want me to come play for the Jets, you're going to have to pay me a little bit extra. And that's going to have to happen objectively until they start winning. I do think that they will be able to get most of their needs filled by the start time of the draft. I think they'll have needs at quarterback. They'll have needs at edge rusher. But I do think they'll address the receiver position. I do think they'll address the depth of the offensive line. I do think they're going to bring in another corner potentially, and they will bring in a safety as well. To me, they're going to be aggressive. They're going to have to overpay, and they will in some spots. But that's just where you are for a team that hasn't been to the playoffs in 15 years.
Paul Fiore says the only argument you can make about the Raiders not taking Mendoza while tanking is that they wanted the number 1 pick to trade out and acquire more assets. If they stay at 1, it is Mendoza. No to Kyler.
We'll see. Listen, it's January 23rd. We haven't had the Senior Bowl yet. We haven't had the Combine. We haven't had the Pro Day. A lot changes from an NFL offseason from the end of January to the start of the draft in April. Injuries, free agent signings, trades, a lot changes in these instincts. And people need to recognize that while it looks like Mendoza could go number 1, the Raiders being the Raiders and free agency being what it is, nothing is a surefire bet in this draft.
Who would be their quarterback if it's not Mendoza, though?
I think they would go after Tua. I think that's certainly a possibility. Maybe they go after Kyler.
Well, they're not going after Tua. They hire Brian Flores. That's for sure.
But we don't know if Flores is that's my thing. We don't know who the coach is, so we can't make an informed decision on where they're going, period. Like, there's a chance that
– But I don't think the coach matters because they're not going to be all in to try and win right away. They're building their team. They have the worst record in football. That's why they're picking number 1.
they're building the team in the way the coach and the GM will agree upon. If the coach says we're not a quarterback away, give me a veteran so we can be at least competitive and build the right way, then absolutely that's a possibility. They could go after Kyler. They could go after Tua. Those things could happen. Again, this is my point of we have no idea what's going to happen in April. If the Raiders come in and hire Evero to be their head coach, and he says, I want Kyler because I need to bolster this defense up, and they take Alvaro Reese, then what happens? Mendoza falls to you at 2. That's a possibility here.
This one is from Paul, who's following up on his super chat. But why wouldn't you trade out if you don't want the quarterback? That makes no sense. See, I agree, because in what is perceived to be a one quarterback draft, as far as guy you would take at the top, they would trade out before they take an offensive tackle or defensive lineman. They could get a big haul for that pick.
They could if other teams were in love with Fernando Mendoza. From what I've heard from NFL scouts, they love what they've seen from him, but they also know that his talent level is capped in a certain way, kind of like what Jared Goff is. He is not a guy like Caleb Williams where you send all the draft picks you possibly can for him. He's not a guy like Joe Burrow. He's a very good prospect. He's going to be a franchise quarterback eventually, like Goff is, but is he going to be able to single-handedly win you games like these unbelievable quarterbacks out there in the NFL? That remains to be seen, and from some of the scouts I've talked to, they're not convinced.
Comments, questions, your super chats, cut the line. If you want in on the conversation, we can take your calls as well. I pinned the Gus Buster Umbrella Hotline link to the live chat. We got over 460 people in here live. Thanks for spending part of your Friday with us here on the show. And this has been requested by many. So we've been selling the March for Art shirts in the store. It's been a funny bit on the show that has come to life with actual merch. People have been saying, well, if you have the Tank for Art shirt, you need a tank top for it. So in the merch store at jakeasman.com, you now could get your Tank for Arch tank tops in addition to your Tank for Arch and March for Arch t-shirts. But thanks to everyone for your patience. But those are now live in the merch store, so check it out. It is Nick Faria's birthday, so even if you think his takes are insane with Mendoza not going 1, be nice, at least today. Anyway, let's get to some of your calls on the show right now. If you want in, again, the link is pinned in the chat. Let's say hello first up to this man.
Hello.
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 Hola.
Hey.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm going to give Nick the benefit of the doubt because it's his birthday. And I'm going to say, yeah, maybe the Raiders are interested in defense, right? I think Kuntz is a free agent. It might be attractive to pair Bain with Max Crosby, right? But to Jake's point, you got to trade out of that spot then. And if that's the case and you want Bain, the only team that you would deal with is the New York Jets, right?
Sure. That's also on the table,
right.
though. But that's my point. We don't know what the Raiders are going to do yet. There's so many opportunities here for both teams to really kind of figure out what they want.
No, I think that there might be other teams interested in Mendoza, but if you're saying that, they're really interested in getting the best defensive player, really.
Kyle, we lost you, Kyle. Try and call back. Your internet cut you out there. Again, I agree with him because if you're not taking the quarterback, you have to trade out. And if you're right, Nick, that they want Bain or they want the offensive lineman, whoever, the Jets make the most sense because then you could trade out, move only back one spot, get extra picks for just moving back one spot and still getting the player you want all along.
And that tells you that they may not have been high on Mendoza as many people thought and said,
But there's no evidence of that for the record. Like, you're just speculating.
Yes, because they don't have a coach, because we haven't had free agency, because we haven't seen him throw at the combine. This is my point. It's too early.
He just won the Heisman and went 16-0. They just watched him in person at the national championship game on the field.
Matt Leinart won the Heisman what year?
2004?
And then the very next year or 2 years later, he came out for the draft and went 10th. And USC was a dominant football program at the time. There's so many examples in NFL history where the quarterback, it is a clear-cut number one quarterback in the draft, and the team bypasses him because they don't believe his ceiling is high enough to go number one overall.
Kyle Clifton's back with us. Hopefully the internet works this time. Finish your point, Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes when I'm on StreamYard for a bit, the phone gets hot and just shuts off. So I have an ice pack behind the phone right now.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, to me, you don't do that for Arvell Reese, right? Like, if you say, I have to have Arvell Reese, you don't go back to 2 because he's kind of positionless. And you don't do that for one of the other guys that might be a transformative defensive player in the draft, a guy like Caleb Downs, because you don't do that at 2 for a safety. To me, what does it take to get up from 2 to 1 would be the question for this quarterback. I don't know what it takes. Does it take 16? Does it take 16 and 33? Does it just take 33? I don't know, right? Because that 33 pick, they could parlay that into 3 additional picks to help build their team. So I get what Nick is saying. Like, it depends on the coach, it depends on the philosophy. But you don't get up this high to take a quarterback every day. So if they like Mendoza even a little bit, I think they're taking Mendoza. But like, the whole idea that they would take Malagoa to me is nuts because that guy's a guard. I think he's going outside the top 10. But that's my opinion.
We'll see.
Good call, Kyle.
We'll
I
see.
love it, Nick. If you're right, this will be an all-time win for you. This will put you on the map.
You guys have listened. There's a big difference. Jake has kind of seen it. There's a big difference between Nick Faria, the reporter, and Nick Faria, the football fan. You will start to see the football fan come out a little bit in terms of how annoying I will be if I end up being right here.
Super chats, cut the line. Joey agrees with you. He's in the raffle for 2. Nick, I'm with you because all I've been hearing from draft experts is that Las Vegas may not feel Mendoza is a franchise QB because of his low ceiling, and AG needs to win now and appease Woody, who wants to fill seats.
Again, I am not saying, gun to my head right now, I think the Raiders pass on him. If they bring in an offensive-minded coach, that probably goes out the window. But we don't know because we don't know who they're going to hire. An offensive-minded coach could also say, listen, our offensive line sucks. Let's go draft some guys that can help us in the long run. So I do think that there's a possibility that the signs don't always point to what we think is the easiest decision when a quarterback does not have the high ceiling that you expect from a number 1 pick.
Ladies and gentlemen, Nick Faria with us. Get to more of your calls. But first, a super chat from Tom. Besides Weeb Eubank, who do you think was our best coach of all time? I think it was Walt Michael. Tom would immediately change that next year. I mean, you could argue Rex. He went to 2 straight AFC championship games, won 4 road playoff games. You could argue Parcells. He was only here, though, for 3 years. But for what he did for the franchise, getting them from the Coke-tight era to in the championship game within 2 years, right? They went from 1 win to 9 his first year, 12 his second in the title game, and then his third year was marred by the Vinny injury week 1, but they finished 8-8 that year, and then he stepped down as the head coach. So it depends what your ultimate opinion is, Tom. I would lean with Parcells slightly over Rex just because of how impressive the turnaround was going from 1 win to the championship game in 2 years.
I agree. I would agree with that. And again, my exasperation is not the question. I think it's a good question. My exasperation comes from the final sentence because everyone thinks that Mike Tomlin's going to come in and become the New York Jets head coach next year, when we don't even know if he wants to be a coach anymore in the National Football League, number one. And number two, his playoff resume the last 10 years has the same amount of playoff wins as the Jets. Sorry. When you have a Hall of Fame quarterback, you should do a lot better than Mike Tomlin did for the last 15 years.
He didn't have a Hall of Fame quarterback for a lot of the recent playoff exits, though. He didn't. He had an aging old Big Ben who couldn't throw, and then he had Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky, Mason Rudolph, a 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers. Like,
he walked into a playoff game against Blake Bortles and lost and gave up 45 points.
That one's on him. They lost that one in the divisional round. But since then, like, they've been significant underdogs in all these playoff games.
He lost to Tim Tebow of the Denver Broncos
in 2011.
He's won two playoff games since that loss.
So but like the Jets haven't won more than 7 games in 10 years, Nick. Tomlin immediately restores order.
And how much of that was the roster that Bill Cowher gave him?
You can't say that because ultimately he was there for 18 years, the head coach, and never had a losing record.
And the minute they started bringing in his guys, the team was nowhere near as good as what
That's really not true. Go look at the roster he won the Super Bowl with. And Cowher's last year, he was 8-8 and then Tomlin took over.
But there's a fundamental difference of why Bill Cowher struggled that year. He had coached for 14 years, and he was done. His system was just getting stale. You wanted to bring someone in. Tomlin was that new. If you look at the comparisons of the rosters, the major difference is along the offensive line, and that's about it. Brett Kiesel, James Harrison was given more of a role. These
StreamYard finally had enough of Nick's takes. They're like, God, they're so bad today. Let's just corrupt his internet so we can't hear him anymore. Nick, do me a favor. If you got a couple minutes left, do a reset of your StreamYard. We'll bring you back in for final thoughts, but your audio was going crazy. Again, Mike Tomlin's not perfect, but Andy Reid got fired and then found immediate success when he finally had Patrick Mahomes. Remember the narrative on Andy Reid was he couldn't win the big one? You need a quarterback. Tomlin was the victim of his own success the last 8 years, you could argue there, because they never bottomed out. They would always be good to win, and that was the reason. Again, he went 4-2 with Justin Fields. Like, he was a victim of his own success. Now, you bring up Tomlin, though, right, Nick? I want you to know we have our best people on the case to get Tomlin to the Jets next year.
Look, we got Tomlinson. He ain't getting out of here. Get comfortable, pal, because as soon as Woody wakes up, he's going to make you a rich man.
And then yesterday, Lou B threw his hat in the ring. He wants in on the 69th team. Let's get to our guy, Lou B, who's on the line. Hello, Lou. What story are you going to say this week that's going to be wildly inappropriate?
I want to be on the 69 team. Let me tell you why. Number one, I know every inch of Long Island, Jake. There's not a street you could say. I performed 69 in Long Island dozens of times, obviously. I own a black van.
What?
Calm your freaky down.
I own a black van for abductions. I know what Starbucks that Tomlin goes to. I need to be I just wanted to be considered for the 69 team.
We're pulling out all the stops. Now, Nick, your internet is terrible, so I don't think it's going to work. I think the takes just morphed into the internet being bad. But everyone wish Nick a happy birthday, and we'll check in with him next week at some point on the show, as we always do. Appreciate you joining us, Nick. I wish the internet didn't crap out at the end there, but hope you have a great birthday. Common Country with a super chat. He's in the raffle for 2. I'm going to get to more of your calls. If Brady had any involvement or influence on who they draft, he is the last person to care about the ceiling of a quarterback, considering what Brady's play style was. And what's Mendoza's superpower? His processing, his ability to get the team in the right play, his clutch ability, teammates rallying around him. Kind of sounds like some of the traits that we lauded Brady for, right? Brady wasn't this superhuman athletic freak. He beat you with his mind, his will to win. That matters. I'd be shocked if Fernando Mendoza doesn't go number 1. Shocked. But again, I hope Nick is right, because I'd love for the Jets to get him. Ladies and gentlemen, more of your calls right now.
Jake Asman is a radicalizer. He takes a fan who's mildly annoyed and turns them into a foaming at the mouth lunatic for 3 hours, then reads super chats about it. He doesn't cover the Jets, he covers the argument about the Jets. And he's basically a rage DJ. He doesn't create the anger, he just remixes it louder and sells $2 super chats.
Hello, Jack.
What's up, Jake? How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm all right. I've been a common caller, just pushing back on this, like Fernando Mendoza. I gotta you just made a comment, processing ability. Do we know that Fernando Mendoza can process? Like how, Daniel Kelly, I believe, he claims he's a former scout.
Well,
I don't
don't
put too
reference Daniel Kelly.
look. He's gotten plenty of stuff wrong, and I'm not a fan of his. But
He's got an Aaron Hernandez tattoo on his body. The guy is mentally unstable.
yeah, he's a psychopath. I'm not a fan of his. But like, a broken clock is right twice a day. And I think he's right. Like, how many times have you seen Fernando Mendoza get to his second, third read? Like when I see him, I'm watching a ton of RPO, and it's predetermined. First guy he sees, he's throwing to. And I'll just remind everyone, like the number 12th ranked rushing attack in the country, the number 2 or 1 ranked defense, and he's throwing to 3 guys that are going to be NFL receivers, 2 of which will be top 100 picks this next year. A third, I don't know if he's coming out, Beckett, whatever his name is. But like, I don't like great college quarterback. We've seen a million great college quarterbacks come through. Someone explain to me how Fernando Mendoza is any different than Curtis Rourke, who was drafted last year, went in the 6th, 7th round. Like, what is the difference? Their numbers are the same. They both led really good Indiana teams. Mendoza got there a year later. Like, I just don't see this slam dunk 101. I got people on Twitter comparing him to Andrew Luck, and I want to throw my computer out of the window. Like, he's a great college player. Bottom third pro is my prediction. Put it in writing.
Look, you might be right. I mean, there's a high bust rate of any first round quarterback. Scouts rave about his processing ability, though. They rave about his his overall mentality, right? The fact that he does a really good job, just willing guys to victory at times, it feels like. But I think he throws a really good anticipation. I think he does a really good job keeping his eyes downfield, and when he's forced outside of structure, I think he's a better athlete than he gets credit for. He's not a perfect prospect. There's no such thing, but I like him. I think he's a rhythm thrower. He plays on time. I think the comp of Goff and Cousins is like a pretty fair comp. I work with a former GM on Sunday on ESPN New York. Mike Tannenbaum has compared him for months to Matt Ryan. Like, if you drafted Matt Ryan first overall, you'd sign for that in 2 seconds. The guy won an MVP and was an outstanding quarterback in the league for over a decade. Like, I think he's going to be a good player.
Yeah, I guess I have a different perception of the Matt Ryans and the Kirk Cousins and the Jared Goffs of the world. Like, those guys collectively have played 50 seasons of football and 0 Super Bowls across them. So I get that, like, Jets fans are, the drunk guy at the end of the bar who will take anything home at 3 a.m. But like, I feel like especially if you're drafting 101, 102, like, you have to aim higher in terms of what you're bringing in here. Like, do we want to get to 8 and 9, or do you want to get to 13 and 4 and an actual home playoff game and eventually a Super Bowl? Like, I just don't think those guys are good enough to win a Super Bowl unless literally
Goff went to
everything.
a Super Bowl.
So did Matt Ryan, and then neither of them.
And Matt Ryan should have won that Super Bowl.
Should have, would have, could have. They haven't.
But again,
like,
but you're saying like you can't win with, like, that's just objectively not true. And because those guys didn't win a Super Bowl, I mean, you had Brady, Peyton Manning divvying up all these Super Bowls. Then you had the Mahomes era. Again, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, how many Super Bowls have they been to? How many have they won? Rodgers, as great as he was, he only went to 1 Super Bowl. Like, 100%. That can't be your only barometer for evaluating a quarterback.
It's not my only barometer, but the difference is that the argument I'm making is that you can get to a Super Bowl, maybe you can win one of those guys. Everything around the team has to be perfect in order to get there. Like, Jared Goff has how many top receivers he's throwing to? I mean, running backs, offensive line. Like,
do you feel that way about Lawrence and Caleb Williams and Cam?
I think Trevor Lawrence stinks.
I mean, who do you think is good? Like, again, there's only a plethora of, like, quote unquote elite quarterbacks. Then, like, you can't. Not every team could have an Allen or a Mahomes.
Yeah, I mean, Josh Allen is like, I think if you're picking a quarterback at the very high end of the draft, like, you have to check the box on traits. And you need to be a guy that can put a team on its back. Like, say what you want about Josh Allen not going to the Super Bowl. It's not his fault that they kicked off to the Chiefs at the end with 13 seconds to go or whatever it was. But he's taken a subpar Bills roster over the last 3-4 years, and
What happened this year?
Yeah, I mean, look, he won 12, 13 games every single year, and he's throwing, his number one receiver is a number 3 receiver on basically every other team.
Jack. That's the point I'm making to you. Like, you need a guy that is capable, and then you got to build the team, and you still need some breaks, even when you have the great quarterback. Again, Aaron Rodgers won 4 MVPs. He's going to finish his career with 1 Super Bowl win.
Yeah, and they never invested in a first-round receiver for him, and he took the
or their defense allowed an average of 35.5 points per game in NFC championship games. Like, it still takes a team.
But it does. Yeah, you need to have a good team. The argument I'm making is that, like, Fernando Mendoza before last year was a 4th-round draft pick.
So was Joe Burrow.
And so was Kenny Pickett. Like, you don't overdraft a guy based on 1 year of college production. Like,
but that's what happens. That was literally what happened with Joe Burrow. The same exact thing at LSU. He was throwing to NFL guys. He was throwing to Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson.
Joe Burrow had 65 touchdowns his final year and threw for like 6,000 yards. Like,
he was amazing. But
it's fundamentally different than Fernando Mendoza, who
Baker Mayfield was not the first overall pick in the draft going into his last year at Oklahoma.
And one could argue like he probably shouldn't have been a top 2-3 quarterback pick. I mean, in a redraft, like, is Baker Mayfield going top 5? I don't know that he is.
I mean, again, Sam Darnold, I think, is now better than him per se, but he wasn't always. It took the right environment, right situation, or the right coach. That's so much of this too that you're not factoring in.
I mean,
we did a redraft now. I don't think Caleb Williams goes 1 or Jaden Daniels goes 1. I think it's probably Drake May now, right? Like, these things, like, they change.
I don't know about that. Caleb might still be 101.
I'm not sure about that. I think Drake May would go first overall if we did a redraft like today.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, look, I don't think anyone's arguing that Caleb Williams doesn't have the requisite skill set to be a top pick. Like, he has the arm talent, he has the athleticism, he has the intelligence. Like, those are the things you look for. When I look at Fernando Mendoza, like, I don't see crazy arm talent from him. I don't see crazy athleticism. My question is, like, what is his superpower? His superpower is that he's a game manager. Like, the national championship game,
accuracy,
37. They refuse to pass the ball with him. Like, how many quarterbacks do they refuse to throw the ball when it's an obvious passing down a distance? Like, Fernando Mendoza, they put basically like guardrails around him where he can't even make a mistake because they don't pass the ball enough. Like, he's a game manager and he's a very good game manager, but, like, I don't think you pick game managers at 101. I just don't.
Well, you said that you think Trevor Lawrence sucks. So, like, you're kind of all over the place with, like, your barometer of who's a good quarterback in your mind. Who can you win
Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. There's like 5 quarterbacks in the league that are worth building around and going all in on it as a top pick.
Well, the Jets don't have access to getting one of those guys.
Right. So why would you waste one of your most valuable resources?
Because you need a dude. You got to build your team. You got to have a chance. You don't have a chance if you don't have a quarterback. Yeah. You just need 5 quarterbacks. There's 32 starting quarterback jobs.
Jake, but if you pick a guy in the top end of the first round, like, you're committing to that guy for 3 seasons. So that means they did the same thing when John Idzik picked Geno Smith in the second round, top of the second round. All of a sudden it was like, well, we have our quarterback. We're not going to go into the draft next year and pick a Patrick Mahomes. We can go pick Jamal Adams at 6 or 7 or whatever he was picked. And you pass these guys up. So the point I'm making is, like, unless you can fall in love with a guy and really commit the next 5 years towards him, like, you shouldn't be picking someone just because he's staring in front of you. It's how you end up with, like, the Zach Wilsons of the world. Like, you need to be in love with the guy's traits, his makeup, all of that.
They picked him. And if they didn't pick him, Kyle Shanahan was taking him 3rd overall. Do you think he's a pretty good coach?
I do. I also don't know that he was necessarily picking him.
That's been out there.
If you go back, I mean, if you listen to the Connor Hughes of the world, Saleh never wanted Zach Wilson. Now Joe Douglas is interviewing for the Falcon jobs. And do you think he's going to Arthur Blank telling him, yeah, Zach Wilson was my guy? Or do you think he's going in saying, Woody needed a shiny new toy. It had been 3 seasons of Sam Darnold. He needed to sell some season tickets.
No one believes that, Jack. There were stories talking about how they were all aligned in taking Zach Wilson and that, like again, Joe Douglas is not relevant to this conversation. My point to you is you only think there's 5 good quarterbacks in the whole league. It's not realistic. If they love Mendoza and could build a team around him, I think he's good enough you can win with him. If his comp is Jared Goff, he's been the 1 seed. He's been the quarterback of a team that was in an NFC title game, went to a Super Bowl, and was the 1 seed all in 3 separate seasons. I think you can win with that guy.
Yeah. Jared Goff, Sean McVay didn't move off of him for no reason, right? Like the next season, they bring in Matt Stafford, they win a Super Bowl. Like Jared Goff is a good quarterback.
So what about Darnold then? 3 teams moved off of him after the Jets.
Yeah. Look, Darnold took a little while for the light.
Right, because that's my point to you. It's not just the quarterback; it's also coaching, and success is not always lateral. Like it takes time.
Who has more arm talent, Sam Darnold or Jared Goff? Who has better athleticism, Sam Darnold or Jared Goff? Who has a better size, build, all of that? Like I would argue Sam Darnold checks the boxes on the attributes you look for in a high-end quarterback more so than Jared Goff. Jared Goff is a system quarterback. Like he needs to have good receivers around him. He needs to have a good offensive line. He can't be moved off his spot.
Every quarterback,
it's not every quarterback. There's guys that can play off platform. Like Jared Goff cannot play out of structure. If you move him off of his spot, everything breaks down. So unless the play is executed exactly how it's been designed, you're at a dead end with Jared Goff. And I would argue that that's why he's never been able to take that next step, because when the windows get tighter in the playoffs, defenses are faster, they're better, and the protection isn't going to be as clean as it is when you're going up against the Chicago Bears or whoever it is that was crappy at the time.
What like again, you think every quarterback basically sucks, Jack. Well, it's not realistic for the Jets to operate that way. So what is their plan at quarterback then? Right? If you're the Jets now going forward, what are you doing at that position? Just tanking again until you could get someone that the Jack Straw happens to like at the top of the draft?
No, I think if you're for the next year, number one, if you're Aaron Glenn, like you need to have someone that can come in and play right now, who you can throw into the fire, who's got a little bit of metal to him and can survive an imperfect situation. But what I would argue is you use the assets you have. You've got 4 top 50 picks or whatever it is. You build. You get weapons in place. You try to find a veteran, whether it's Malik Willis or someone else who can come in. And
Malik Willis, you want to pay Malik Willis $50 million?
Well, it's not my money. I don't care what he spends. I mean, we're paying $50 million to Justin Fields.
It's not the money. It's how it impacts the cap.
Aren't going to be on the cap. Doesn't matter. They've got $75-80 million to spend this year, $130 million the next year. Like
the cap does matter though, because that's less money you could address at other positions. If you're taking you just tried this with Fields. The cap does matter.
What I'm arguing is that we're paying $50 million to quarterbacks who are not going to be on the roster next year. So the cap is irrelevant. Like the Jets are not up against cap hell. Who do they need to re-sign on their own roster that to use that money on? There's nobody. There's no one with a contract.
If you're investing a 2-year contract at over $50 million to Malik Willis, that limits your ability to add other areas of the team this year and then the following year potentially.
But you now have 4 top 50 picks that you can use towards supporting Malik Willis versus getting a quarterback in here that.
Oh, so you mean you have to support a quarterback for them to be successful? That's kind of how that goes.
Of course you do. But if Malik Willis was entering the draft today with the current body of work that we have over the last 2 years of rehab he spent under LaFleur, he would be ahead of all of these guys. Like
I'm not convinced. He started 6 games.
He started 6 games, and I mean he was 2
of them were this year, or 3 of them were this year.
I think the lack of game tape on him is actually benefiting him more so than anything else. He didn't get a real opportunity in Tennessee. He got, I think, 4 games before they pulled the trigger and made the move to Will Levis. Like I think the fact that he was a first round talent when he came out, he's had an opportunity to sit, reset.
Would you rather Malik Willis or Trevor Lawrence, who you said you think sucks?
I mean, obviously, I would take. Look, Trevor Lawrence is that type of quarterback to me. I never was a fan of him coming out of Clemson, but when you have to pay,
you weren't a fan of Trevor Lawrence.
No, I wasn't.
He was like the perfect prospect, best competition, national champion, has the prototypical size, had the game started. was a Heisman finalist like 3 of his seasons starting. He was like the top prospect we've had in the draft since Luck in 2011. And you weren't a fan of that guy?
I didn't love him. I didn't think he was able to layer footballs in between coverage. I think he hasn't been able to do that in the pros. He obviously had a good year. He's got all the size attributes you want, the arm strength, the athleticism, the intelligence, all of that. But when I look at him actually playing quarterback, something does not seem right to me. So I think to be a really good quarterback requires more anticipation. Like it's the same thing. If you were to look at Brock Purdy, just from a physical standpoint, you go, well, he's smallish. He doesn't have a great arm, not super athletic. And you go, oh, this guy's not my, but when you actually see him process and anticipate and throw guys open, like he looks like a very good quarterback. I think Brock Purdy's a good quarterback. But the point I'm making with the Trevor Lawrence is like, Trevor Lawrence is fine if he's on a rookie deal and you're waiting for him to develop. He's not like when he takes up 25-30% of your cap, all of a sudden, like Trevor Lawrence becomes as much of a liability as he is, a good quarterback. Like that to me is quarterback hell. You've got to pay him like he's the best quarterback in the league.
13 games.
Yeah, and they lost to the Buffalo Bills.
They lost to Josh
home.
Allen.
And the Bills roster's not good. The Bills roster is not good. Trevor Lawrence to me will never, unless he makes some kind of like huge leap over the next couple of years, he's going to be
he had not panned out to what he was supposed to be till this year. When what happened? Oh, he got a great offensive coach who got the most out of him. That's been my point to you the whole time. It's coach and quarterback.
It's coach and quarterback, but I don't think Trevor Lawrence is ever going to be a top 7 quarterback.
Well, you think everyone sucks, Jack. We know.
I think he'll live in the top. Best years he might break top 10.
He was a top 5 quarterback this year.
On paper, maybe, but
he was. The numbers back it up. They won 13 games,
and then he lost when it mattered at home.
He played Josh Allen. You act like he lost to
Bills
Brady
roster
Cook.
stinks. The Bills roster stinks.
Stop with the Bills roster stinks.
The Bills roster name 5 players on the Bills roster. It's Dalvin Cook. It's the
you can't
receiver.
tell me the Bills roster stinks. Is it as good as it's been the last couple of years? I would agree with you that it is not, but you can't tell me it stinks. That's
the Bills
crazy.
roster is like a 9-8 roster. That's what it is.
Regarding the content treadmill streamers, this is where Matt O'Leary, Boy Green, Jets Central, Jets Media, and many others all live. Different logos, same product. They post nonstop and say nothing. Every day is a new reaction, a new thought, a new emergency, and you finish it realizing you didn't learn a single thing. It's volume without information. Still the same treadmill. Video from my car about nothing, just flavored with optimism / panic / whatever the consensus feeling is at the time of recording.
Well done, Jack. Successful rage bait. He's all over the place with his quarterback opinions. He wants Malik Willis, but Trevor Lawrence sucks. He basically said there's like 4 good quarterbacks in the whole league. I got news for you. It's hard to get those guys. If you have a chance to get someone you think can be very, very good and you can win with, like Jalen Hurts, I don't think he's great, but guess what? He's been to 2 Super Bowls and won one of them and was the MVP. Eli Manning, I don't think he was ever a top 5 quarterback in the league consistently. But you know what? You could win with him if you've had the right team. He won the Super Bowl twice and was the MVP twice. Again, as good as Allen might be, how many Super Bowls does he have right now? Or Lamar, how many Super Bowls does he have right now? Or Burrow? It still takes a team and a coach. Tank for Ty says, Ty Simpson's the answer at number 2. He's ready to start. The takes on the show today have been something. Kyle Clifton with a super chat in the raffle for 2. Of course, there's rumors Vegas might not take Mendoza. It's silly season. Of course, you're going to hear every different thing that gets put out there. There's no way to gauge interest other than to promote the pick can be had, even if it can't, find out what's out there. It's in the best interest of the Raiders to find out what they could get for that pick. But I think ultimately they take a quarterback because they need one. Kyle's in our raffle for 2. Thank you, Kyle. Super chat from Mike. I learned more while watching Beast sleep. Early entry for worst call of the year. Mike Dems. Bringing it. Mike Duramo, back-to-back mics. A 5 spot of gifted memberships. Let's go.
Fuck you, Jake Asman.
Mike Doramo getting 5 raffle tickets. If you tuned in late, the prize on our shows today is a Joe Namath Super Bowl III bobblehead here on a Football Friday. So make sure you enter the raffle, and then you entered in the weekly raffle for Curtis Martin signed helmet and a Joe Namath signed helmet. All right, more calls now, shall we? Let's say hello to Philly Noodles, who's next. What's up, Philly?
What up, dude? You know, that last guy was very unbearable. I mean, that is disturbing to go through the list of quarterbacks. All right, so Malik Willis. I take Davis Mills on a trade over him because I know he can win with missing pieces of talent on the team. No Tank Dell. Offensive line is sketchy. I mean, Stroud is light years. So we have to question him. Who's better, Stroud or Malik Willis? I mean, the Caleb Williams is greater than Drake May when what May's put together this year. That in itself is disturbing. You can't just pivot off your pivots. If you continue to pivot off of pivots, guess what happens? The shot clock runs out in a fucking basketball game, and you score no points, bro. So you made no points, which we all thought was going to happen, and you pivoted in place. Never again. Yeah, whoever said he should have the worst call ever, 1,000%. Book it. Now, I called in to say I wish Nick Faria was still on. From his mouth to Brady and Spytek's ears, I put a $5 wager to win $100 on Reese going as the number 1 overall pick. I hope that occurs. I want a little $100 in my pocket. Jake, you know, everyone who wants to talk crap about, everybody's going to have a different opinion, right? And your opinion is whatever, you know, BG's and everyone else's shows or whose opinions. I will be in validation with you in your opinion that I put it this way when it comes to head coaching and everything next year. If Glenn don't win 7 or more, I think he's gone. I feel that as a candidate, Durante Jones would make Flores an easy move as head coach next season. Defensive minded or not, if Jones is in place, he already has his DC. So I can see that hire making a lot of sense for us. Jim Leonard, Denver connection, Moogie staying. I can see that being, if he becomes coordinator, he can move up to head coach. He's an assistant head coach right now and a defensive mind. So he's already had a taste of what it is to be in charge of the team as well. And he's a great personnel guy. So there's avenues where we understand, we hope and pray for good things this season to come up, but it is what it is. That's where my mindset's at right now. Looking forward to all the bowl game, the senior bowl games and all this good stuff and draft content. Let's go Jets.
Thanks, Philly. Good call. It's going to be, look, the thing with the Jets being at 2 and no obvious second quarterback, right, is that it sets it up for crazy debates now. Because there's no consensus. And I feel like in other drafts, there usually is a top guy that emerges, but you could argue David Bailey, and I think you're right to say that. You could argue Arvell Reese, Ruben Bain.
It would be extremely painful for you.
A lot of options. So it's going to be fascinating. Nick in the house. Everyone's now dumber for having listened to that guy. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul. Also, just draft wide receivers and defense. Great Billy Madison reference there, Nick. Appreciate you. Spencer Green in the raffle for 2. Good morning, everyone. The glazing's crazy. Allen and the Bills are bleep and frauds. Pats will fall off. Miami sucks. Spend money this offseason and get Fernando and new AFC East champs. Jets MF. No one is more delusional than Spencer, but I appreciate the optimism, and I hope you're right.
We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're shit.
Until then, we are still the Jets, and we still have the worst head coach in football. So hopefully it gets significantly better. More of your calls right now. Joey Jet is next today. Hello, Joey.
Hey, what's up, Jake? Long time. Good to talk to you. I'm sorry. It just took me a minute to recover from that mic call. Good Lord. I thought Alan and Gary came with bad takes. That guy. Anyway, all right. So I want to piggyback on what Nick Faria was talking about. 2 things. Number one, have we forgotten how much of a garbage-ass franchise the Raiders are? I could totally see them not wanting to take Mendoza. and doing something else. Like, how many good decisions have they made over the last 25 years? So that's not exactly a slam dunk. Number two, as bad as the Raiders are, I don't see them just, if they don't want Mendoza, I don't see them just staying at number one. When they know they can trade down with the Jets, pick up some draft capital, and still get whoever they want. So, let's see how things go. Again, they're probably taking Mendoza, but it's certainly not within the realm of possibility that they don't want him. And if I'm the Jets, I make calls and offers to the Raiders. I would absolutely trade one of next year's first rounders and the 44th pick this year to move up to take Mendoza. What do you think?
So you would trade 16 and 44, you said?
Well, no, not. I would try to keep this year's 16th pick, but I would trade one of next year's, one of the picks from 27, and the 44th pick to move up one spot to get Mendoza.
I don't know if that's enough. They might want pick 16 this year, Joey.
If that's the case, I would do it. For a quarterback, I would do it. And it's funny. I really do think that Mendoza, his comp really is Matt Ryan. There's a lot of similarities between those two. And I would absolutely take Matt Ryan. Are you kidding me? Yeah, I'd take it. He should have won that Super Bowl. How much of that Super Bowl loss was on him?
I mean, Matt Ryan was an outstanding quarterback for a long time. He won an MVP, like went to the playoffs a bunch. Like, if you tell me Mendoza's Matt Ryan, absolutely.
Yeah, I'll take that in a second. I like the kid. I saw the game. I'm a fan, so I was disappointed, but the guy's got moxie. He's a leader. He put his body on the line. He's accurate. Those back shoulder throws were killer against the Canes. I like him. And what this guy was saying, they didn't throw the ball.
Did we lose you there, Joey? I think we did. You hit a dead spot. Again, he's not a perfect prospect. No one is. There's going to be a million different opinions on him. I think he's a good enough prospect where if you can get him, I would take him. But I have a limit to what I would trade up because I don't think the Jets are going to be a good team with him next year because the coaching is so bad. And we have 3-1s next year. So I rather preferably just use our picks to build the team, but I'm not going to criticize the Jets if they traded one of their 1s in 27 and one of their 2s this year, as that last caller brought up the possible trade to move up. I understand that Glenn and Muji feel like they need to get the quarterback. So I wouldn't get the I wouldn't criticize him. I'd criticize him if it's like you're trading 3 1s to move up one spot. That would be a disaster. I don't think that's smart. More of your calls. Leader of Jets is back. If you missed yesterday's show, dear God. Hello, Leader.
Good morning, Jake. How are you today?
Fantastic.
Have you warmed up to Ty Simpson at 2? It's been about 24 hours.
No, I have not.
Now, just humor me if you will. Okay, let's say Ty Simpson ends up being the pick at 2 and we get one of the wide receivers, Lemon. I don't think Lemon stays or makes it to 16. I don't think Tate does. Maybe we move up a little to 13 or 14 where we can move a second to get a really good guy to go next to Garrett Wilson. But, with Engstrand and Ty Simpson, Garrett Wilson, let's say Lemon, just humor me, A.D. Mitchell in the 3, Breece Hall probably on a franchise tag. I we'll see what he commands in the market, but a pretty good offensive line and Mason Taylor. Like, why is that a bad offense? Yeah, it sounds honestly pretty good to me. And then, like you said, next year, 3 first-round picks, you can really, really attack the defense. You don't have to spend a lot of money on the offense because you've added a weapon, you've added the quarterback. All of our free agency can be defensive-focused, and we can keep all the picks for the future. Plus, if Glenn can't do it with that, you'll be thrilled. He'll be fired because you got your guy, you got your system. If you don't show improvement, you're gone. I don't see how that's not a great solution for the Jets.
I mean, he's not going to.
Why?
Because he's not that level of prospect.
So humor me. He does go 2. What's wrong with that?
It would be a huge reach.
Huge reach. Why? He's a first-round talent.
I don't believe he is worth a first-round pick. I don't think in most drafts he would go in the first round. I think he is the second best quarterback in a down quarterback class.
Where would he get selected next year?
I'm not sure how many first-round quarterbacks there'll be next year. I think if we
So why would you wait? Why would you wait?
Because it's projected to be better, and I just think
What will the Jets'
options.
record be? What will the Jets' record be next year?
Probably around what it is this year, between 3
Maybe
and 5
a few
wins.
more wins if you bring in whoever you may suggest, Mac Jones or Malik Willis.
Let's say between 3 and 6 wins next year.
Okay, so what quarterback prospect will we get next year if we have 3 and 6 wins?
Well, there could be as many as 5, 6, maybe 7 quarterbacks that are worthy of first-round picks.
Why wouldn't they stay another year in the same situation like Dante Moore, John Mateer, Lenore?
Because some of the names we're talking about stayed this year.
So some of the names will theoretically also stay the following year.
Some of them don't have eligibility left to stay.
Which ones?
I would have to go through each one, right? Darian Mensah, I think, might be up. Arch at that point would have like 1 year left, but would come out because he would be in college for 4 years at that point.
But okay, so
Dante Moore would probably come out if he's worthy again.
Why do you think Dante Moore didn't stay or didn't come out?
He's only started 20 games, and he himself said he needed more development.
But he was slated to go second overall if he came out. Why is that same logic not applied to Ty Simpson?
Because the same logic is applying to Ty Simpson. I don't think Ty Simpson. I wouldn't take Ty Simpson or Dante Moore.
Okay, then that
it's the same thing. It's the same thing. They had that. Ty Simpson has started 5 less games than even Dante Moore has started, and Dante Moore played better than Ty Simpson this year.
No.
Yeah. What do you mean no? What do you mean no?
Do you watch a lot of college football? Do you watch a lot of college football?
I watched more this year than in the past because the Jets were terrible.
No, Dante Moore, he does not go through his reads quickly. He
What does Ty Simpson do? He wasn't even that good.
Do you watch it? He moves through his progressions incredibly quickly. He has incredible pocket presence. You should watch the tape on that. If you think that he does.
We did. We had Joe Blewett on. He likes him, but Joe Blewett wouldn't take him second overall.
And in an ideal situation, I don't want to take someone above what I see their value is, but a quarterback is always going to go 1 or 2 if he's available.
This guy is not good enough to go number 2. You're hurting your franchise.
You're hurting your franchise by waiting 2 years with a lame duck season without a quarterback.
Waiting is better than reaching, man. It sets you back if you commit to Ty Simpson at 2.
But you'll be reaching next year.
You would not necessarily be reaching next year. You have 3 first-round picks.
You might be.
You are reaching this year. That's the point. You do not reach for a quarterback second overall. You don't. That's not how you build a football team. You have 3 first-round picks next year, and what is going to, in all likelihood, nothing is a guarantee, be a quarterback class where there'll be more than 1 consensus top quarterback available. And the Jets are not going to be good in all likelihood in 2026, are armed with an opportunity to get one of those guys. Build your team this year. Glenn can prove he could coach if you're rooting for him to be successful. Overachieve, and then say, hey, now we supplement our team with the quarterback. The Bills made the playoffs, ended their 17-year playoff drought, and still traded up to get Josh Allen. The Chiefs had Alex Smith and still traded up to get Patrick Mahomes. The Ravens had Joe Flacco. They still traded up to get Lamar Jackson. You don't just need to be at the top of the draft to get your quarterback. Unfortunately, this year, it does not feel like there's a plethora of options beyond Fernando Mendoza.
I think there was a lot of evaluators that had Ty Simpson ahead of Fernando Mendoza. I've liked Fernando Mendoza
at the beginning of the year when he was playing great.
You know, do you expect a college kid to play 100% like to his peak ability every game of the year? It's college.
Of course, but you expect more than what he gave you production-wise if you're going to use the 2nd overall pick on a quarterback who has started 15 career games in college. 15.
So if he had better stats at Alabama, you would have been more
If he
pro. Like his
played
stats
better,
matter to you. He made it to the playoffs.
if he played better and had better stats, it's the same thing. He'd have better stats if he was
He
playing
played
better.
pretty well, and his stats were good.
At the beginning of the year, he played really well. That's why he was in the conversation. But the breakdown on his year was that he was not the same guy over his last 6 games than he was in his first 6 games.
But overall, like in terms of his play and his projection, we could go on forever about that. My argument is much more about team structure. In your situation, if we wait till 2027, we sign a free agent lame duck quarterback that you would agree shouldn't be our long-term answer, correct?
Sure.
So then the best case scenario is we are picking between 5 and 10, let's say.
Maybe. I mean, if they finish with 5 wins next year, let's see the teams that won 5 games this year where they all were picking.
I would say 6 or 7.
Okay.
Yeah. So then we would get, let's say, at best, the 3rd, 4th, or 5th QB option.
Maybe. Or you maybe get the second. We don't know. The Patriots have the 3rd best QB option starting in the AFC Championship game for them on Sunday. Bo Nix, if he didn't get
Ty
hurt,
Simpson,
was
the second best option. Ty Simpson's the second best option.
Drake May, Bo Nix was the 5th. Yeah, but again, we're discussing the level of prospect here. It's different. Drake May was considered.
Look at Bo Nix as a level of prospect. He's incredibly comparable.
Bo Nix started 60 games in college.
Because he wasn't NFL ready. You think he was doing that because he was some pro? It's because he didn't have the skill.
But he got better. That's the whole point. Ty Simpson needs to sit and develop. He can't do that on the Jets.
So you're making.
Oh my God, are you a troll? Honestly, I give you credit, man. You're a great rage baiter. I cannot listen to this anymore.
Isn't rage
you cannot.
This
you
is
cannot
logic.
be serious with this tape.
Allow me to make my last point. Allow me to make my last point, please.
Oh my God, you should pay me for having to listen to this. Good Lord,
I
apologize. Hold on, shut up. I apologize to the audience for having to listen to Michael. Good God. All right, Michael, finish your point.
I might have to pay you if Ty Simpson isn't selected 2nd overall. So just to say that. In your scenario, the Jets are picking, let's say, 5 to 7. We get the 3rd pick. It's a great possibility, or the 3rd best quarterback available, that the 3rd best quarterback is very comparable to Ty Simpson this year.
Every draft is different. Compare prospects, not just where they were ranked in a draft. Every draft is different.
I entirely agree with you, but I'm just going through the possibilities. It's a big likelihood that next year we would have to trade up to get a desired quarterback.
Or they or they stick and pick, but either way, it's a better level of prospect at the quarterback spot that you're getting than reaching for Ty Simpson, who has started 15 career games. Well, what part do you not understand?
In 2 months or in a month, when the draft boards and the interviews and the Senior Bowls come out and it shows Ty Simpson moved up, are you going to change your tune?
No, I'm not taking him 2nd overall. I don't think that would be smart by the Jets. It doesn't make sense. I'm not going to change my tune.
It would be smarter to wait.
Yes,
and trade
it would
up?
be. Yes, goodbye. Thank you. I don't know how many times we could do the same argument. Yes, it would be better to wait than reach on a quarterback prospect that if you just look at how he played and then just the statistical likelihood of guys with that few level of starts actually panning out, history would not be on the Jets side. Again, the last 15 years, look at your screen, everyone. These are the quarterbacks who entered the NFL with 20 or fewer starts. Other than Cam, can we say any of these guys are worth the number 2 pick in the draft? Kyler might be the Jet starter this year. If you're telling me that Ty is the next Cam Newton, then okay, the Jets should take him. I don't believe he is. I don't think Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn believe he is, so they shouldn't take him 2nd overall. It's really not that hard to follow. A year from now, you'll have better options at the quarterback spot, even if you don't get the 2nd or the 1st top option because you won too many games and the teams in front of you don't want to trade. You'll have more opportunity. And I don't believe Aaron Glenn's the head coach a year from now. So we'll be able to pair up our new coach with a player at quarterback they want. That would be fantastic. That's the whole point. You could keep them on the same timeline. Like reaching for a quarterback at 2 is how you set your franchise back. Again, I don't believe Aaron Glenn's the coach a year from now. So I'd rather have my pick of coach be able to have their own opportunity to get their long-term answer at quarterback. Keep them aligned. Keep them on the same page. And the problem with taking Simpson is if everyone says, oh, he's got to sit and develop, then how will we even know after a year if he's developed, if he's ready? And then you're going to be in a spot where there's better quarterbacks, and then you just burnt the second overall pick. You can't do it at 2. The earliest you could even consider Simpson, I believe, is at pick 16. More of your calls right now. Ladies and gentlemen, we say hello to the wagon.
Chuck Wagon's always cooking, which it takes. Chuck Wagon's even cooking at the game. Chuck Wagon hates McDonald's, but he's headed home to cook. It's time once again for Chuck Wagon.
Hey, Jake. Sorry I couldn't get on sooner. I was on the phone with HP IT support for about an hour, so yay, that was fun.
That sounds brutal.
Yeah, it was. But I got the printer working, so I guess I'm good to go. And I missed pretty much all of what Nick had to say, but does Nick think that the Raiders are not going to take Mendoza? Is that what he's thinking?
Nick doesn't think he's going to go number 1.
Wow. Okay. Well, I know it's the Raiders, but I just don't see how they can be that. I just don't see them not taking them, or maybe trading out of the number 1. But I just don't see it happening. I'm not going to get my hopes up that they don't pick them, but yeah. Did you see the report about Rivers interviewing for the Bills head coaching job?
I did not.
I just saw that on NFL.com. I can't believe that. Going from being a quarterback and now he's interviewing for a HC job. So that to me is surprising. Yeah. Other than that, I just don't see how the Raiders are going to be that crazy to not pick them, especially when they absolutely need a quarterback. Yeah, I just don't see how they could pick them. And your last caller about taking Ty Simpson, number 2, I really would like him to take a polygraph exam because I don't believe that he truly believes what he's saying. I think he's just trolling you, but that's just my opinion.
He's not going to go second overall.
Hell
so
no.
Let
me rephrase that. He's not going number 2 to the Jets. If some idiot team wants to move up to number 2 to get him, more power to him. But I agree with you. He's not going number 2 to the Jets. And he probably won't go number 16 to the Jets either. So I just wanted to call in and say good morning and all of that. But yeah, sorry that I couldn't catch you in the beginning.
Chuck, don't be sorry. Good call. Nice, calm call there from Chuck Wagon. Again, Mendoza's going number 1. He is. The Raiders didn't just tank for a lineman. They're taking the quarterback. They obviously evaluated their options towards the end of the year and felt like Mendoza was worth getting the number 1 pick for. bobblehead up for grabs. Joe Namath theme bobblehead is the giveaway if you want in on the conversation. Now's your last chance to call in to the show. Here we go.
Hey, Jake, what's up? How you doing?
Hello, Pork.
Hey, Simpson, he's not the guy. I'm just going to come out and tell you right now. We don't want him here. I mean, if anything, we're going to get Arvell Reese or Bain. I mean, I like both of those guys. I think they're home runs. I mean, I've been wrong before, and if Mendoza is there, why wouldn't we pick him? I mean, I don't see the Raiders passing on him. I don't know about you guys.
No, I don't think anyone does. Now, I hope Nick Faria is right and that situation plays itself out. But if you could get Mendoza without having to trade any picks, it's a worthwhile swing.
It would be amazing. I mean, we would be like pigs and shit, man. I mean, it's not going to happen. We're going to get Reese or Bain. And I don't know who's better. You know what I mean?
Or Bailey. David Bailey could be in play too.
Yeah. And I'm excited about all those guys. I mean, Reese, he's a terror. I mean, Bain, we need the darkness here, I think. I like what you're saying. You know, Bain would be great for Gotham City. You know what I mean? It would be, and he's a monster. You know what I mean? We need that type of guy on this team. And another thing that we need is these 4th, 5th round picks to hit. You know what I mean? I don't know if you noticed that. Our late rounders aren't that great. I mean, in the early 2000s, even, we had Kochery and we had Kerry Rhodes and those guys, and even Leon Washington. Those were great late round pickups. Now we don't got none of them. You know what I mean?
That's where it starts. Beyond the quarterback issues, if you want to point to another big reason why the Jets have been in the longest playoff drought in sports, they have just thrown away day 3 picks. Thrown away. They don't hit on any of them ever. And this year it's the same thing. Tyler Barron, they traded up for that scrub. Arian Smith, who Aaron Glenn tried to chastise the media over because he had a good training camp practice. He sucks, and they used a 4th round pick on him. That's been such a problem for this team for years, Pork.
Yeah, Arian Smith is a special teamer. When we lost Jericho Kochery, it's like we've been cursed ever since then. Tell your boy Mike T about that. Say thanks for that, buddy. Thanks for running the heart of the team out of here, because he was.
That was
I
the
could
start
go
of
off
the
on that
downfall.
for days. That was my favorite player, and they just let's get rid of him. Well, I'm still jerked about that, but I got good news, Jake. Pork went down from 215. I'm down to 194. So I'm healthy now.
You look good, Pork. You really do.
16 months sober, 15% body fat. So I'm on the way. I need to lose about 30 more pounds, but I'm not fat. I have a lot of muscle, but I'm doing it. And
You
it's
look
a lot
handsome,
thanks.
Pork. You look great.
Well, thanks to the Asmaniacs. You guys helped me out a lot. I was depressed for a long time. I didn't speak to anybody. I sat in a room, isolated. At least I could come on here and, have support from my fellow Jet fans. And I appreciate it. I love all you guys. And with that, I'm out. Jet life to the next life. Have a great weekend and stay warm.
Pork, well said. Good for you, man. Keep losing that weight. You look great. Spencer Green says, breaking Jets trade 216 and a 2027 first of the Raiders for Crosby and pick 1. Jake, thoughts? It will never happen. More of your calls right now. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time.
If Mad Max ain't yapping about Jets, that boy, he's jamming, he's standing, freaking dancing, wall smashing. I'm Jake Asman. If Mad Max ain't ever stopped yapping, that boy, he still be dancing. Then call Jake Asman, he got an orange wall.
Honestly, guys, can you guys hear me?
Dildos.
Oh, man. Did you see that post by Richard Johnson saying Aaron Glenn might quit? Did you see that post by Richard Johnson? No, Richard Johnson said, "Oh, Aaron Glenn might quit because you can't get a defensive coordinator." Honestly, he should. He's a terrible head coach. Honestly, he's the worst Jets head coach I've ever seen. Who wants to work with Aaron Glenn? Honestly, He's a terrible head coach. My grade of Aaron Glenn this season is a 0 out of 10. He is horrible. Our defense is a shit show. How do you have a defense with 0 interceptions? Our offense wasn't that great. I mean, Tanner wasn't that bad of a coordinator. He decided, let's just pay Justin Fields $40 million instead of keeping Aaron Rodgers, And then the only good thing about this team is a special team. But this is the only good thing Aaron Glenn's good at, guys. This is the only good thing he's good at. The salsa dancing. It's the only good thing Aaron Glenn's good at. The salsa. Honestly. That's the only good thing Aaron Glenn's good at. But honestly, he should quit. He's a terrible head coach, But I don't think it's ever going to happen, But let's hope Aaron Glenn's fired by 2026 so we get a real coach like Mike Tomlin, honestly. Oh man, honestly, how's everyone's weekends going? We're gonna have a massive snowstorm. Honestly, we're gonna have the most massive snowstorm. Subscribe to my YouTube channel.
What do you guys' opinion on me doing a backflip through this orange wall?
Thank you, Mad Max. What a call. Thank you for blessing us with whatever that was. Also, Mad Max, Glenn's dance is not a salsa dance. I love how you continue to refer to it as a salsa dance. If you want a salsa dance, this is a salsa dance.
Here it is. Little Victor Cruz dance. Oh, Victor. Woo. I'm doing a little salsa, baby. Yeah. Woo.
Thank you very much, Mad Max. Oh, man. Where's this bootlicker? Where was Taylor's comment here? Taylor Sterling, who he hates me, but he watches every show. Funny how that works. Jake didn't want to bring up the day 3 guys that hit year 1. Like who? You're counting Malachi Moore as a hit already? The guy who led the team and missed tackles, I'm pretty sure. I saw that stat the other day. He was okay. You're calling that a hit? Does that make up for Arian Smith in the 4th round? Tyler Barron? Malagoa? Who are the day 3 guys that were this big hit for the Jets? What are you talking about? Tell me, please. Who were these big hits? I'm dying to know. Tell me. The New York Jets, who are these day 3 big hits? You will do anything to try and defend this head coach. It's embarrassing. I didn't minimize the special teams that won them a couple games. I've repeatedly said Banjo is the best coach on the staff and that Glenn got that hire correct. And I've even argued that instead of hiring a retread who no one else wants to hire in Wink Martindale, I'd rather Glenn go down on his sword swinging big for the next up-and-coming guy. Who's the next Chris Banjo that could coach defense, though, instead of Wink Martindale, who's Steve Wilkes 2.0? Again, Taylor, please tell me about these day 3 picks that are unbelievable. You can't. They drafted Arian Smith in the 4th round. People had him as a UDFA as their projection for him.
I just feel like it seemed like Arian Smith was making some plays today and getting open. Like, how happy are you with his progress?
The guy that can't catch? What you guys say?
Unreal. You're sad. You really are. Call in and please enlighten me on who these picks are. Zach says several people hate Jake but can't stop watching. Of course, they're in here every day. The people who hate me actually watch the show more. That's what the funniest part is. Let's get to more of your call. My mic keeps muting because of StreamYard glitching here. All right. Is this thing on? It is. Here we go. It's Bring It time.
He thinks that Gorman needs to get a frickin' job. This cowboy hates to see as maniacs complain. What they call him, one-punch Brigger. You need to get a job. What they call him, one-punch Brigger. The beast is on his ass. They call him one-punch Brigger. Has anyone seen Dean Mack? They call him one-punch Brigger. He'll only need one.
Hey, Jake. Just turned the afternoon, so good afternoon.
What's up, Dave?
You know, there was a movie Jack Nicholson was in. I don't remember the name of it, but you know what he said? You can't handle the truth. That's the problem with some of these guys, you know? They can't handle the truth, so they get a lot of people that's coming after you. So just hang in there. Be strong. You're strong because not too many guys can put up with the stuff, you know, that you're putting up with. So they can't handle the truth. But I call in for this one fact. That one guy in the chat keeps defending Charles London and Glenn's development of quarterbacks. Okay. You just said his name. I think he was the guy you were talking about. So I couldn't help. I couldn't help myself. I can't help myself on this point. Listen, that London is still here and Glenn was here. The both of them are responsible for putting Fields on the field last year. Them bringing in an unprepared rookie. He's trying to tell me that guy was prepared. You threw that guy in there, Cook. Did he look prepared? Trying to say that he made a couple good plays? Listen, these guys want a quarterback here. You better clean out that quarterback room and bring somebody in there. Otherwise, you know, you're whistling Dixie. You're not putting a blindfold over our eyes. We can actually see things. So whatever you want to see, you see. These guys are blind, just plain old blind. That London guy still being here. This is the worst narrative I've ever seen in my life. The product of quarterback play he put on that field last year was criminal. We have no quarterback. They couldn't train quarterbacks. They couldn't develop quarterbacks. This is a continuum problem. And these people are not seeing it. Hey, whatever you want to call it, truthers for Glenn and London. You're not putting blindfold over my eyes or people like Jake. We see the thing. Jake, this is unbelievable. How can you defend these people? How in the world can you defend this development of quarterbacks and this guy's still here? I don't get it, man. I don't get it.
It's mind-boggling, Dave. I mean, they went 3-14. They looked inept. They started 0-7. I mean, Justin Fields, he was never good elsewhere, but he was never as bad as he played with the Jets.
Jake, the guy had mental blocks. Whatever it was, he could not throw the ball. So whatever was going on there, these guys they were trying to turn him into a running quarterback. They were trying to turn him into a passer, rather, right? They're responsible for what happened on the field. That London, was he not the quarterback coach? Well, what did he do all year? Well, and then he puts an unprepared rookie, and that Taylor's trying to tell me that guy was prepared, an undrafted free agent. This wasn't Dan Marino they were putting out there. These guys are blind. Jake, I don't know. They want to bring in a quarterback to be developed now with this guy, London and Glenn, the coaching staff that we have. I don't get it, man. I don't get it. I'm not. Hey, listen, I'm not a pessimistic person, but my eyes, they don't deceive me in this realm. I can tell you that much. So, Jake, just keep telling, don't change. Hey, let the people that don't like your narratives come in, because we're trying to give this guy a break. But come on, you got to put products on the field that are NFL worthy. You can, coaching. He claims his coaching. Well, I've been watching games for 60 years. I've never seen anything like this. Believe me, Jake. We know the guys that have been around know they've seen things. I mean, we witnessed good coaching. We know what bad coaching looks like. We know what bad players look like. Anybody that played sports knows. Okay? I don't get it, man. I don't get it. We just got the only thing that we were safe from this week is Pagula make himself look worse than Woody. That guy's lost, man. He's lost.
Most of these guys are. They just get bailed out by their quarterback or coach that they, maybe got right accidentally.
Maybe our only hope is to make Woody an offer he can't refuse. Everybody get together and we'll get an LLC going or something like that. Buy the team out, but maybe we could put pressure on the guy. Get him out. We're sick of it. Sick of defending. I'm sick of defending bad coaching. But hey, some guys don't get it. They don't understand. Jake, so you're doing a good job. Hey, you're gonna have a cold week down there in Mobile.
Looks like it, Dave. It does. It's supposed to be in like the 40s and 50s, so it's not much warmer.
Well, pack appropriately, my friend. Pack appropriately.
Thank you, Dave.
Just have a safe trip, and we appreciate all you're doing. And hey, the more heat they come after us for telling the truth, we can handle the truth. You guys out there, learn how to handle it. Okay? Learn how to handle it. Got a lot of lessons to learn.
Love it.
Hang in, Jake. God bless. Have a safe trip.
Dave, you're the man.
He thinks that Gary needs more shots upside his head. This cowboy hates when you don't believe in achievement. Well, they call him One Punch Brigger. The moon landing was free. They call him One Punch Brigger. His claim is not too dirty. One Punch Brigger. He did justice like his ass. One Punch Brigger. Doesn't know they need none.
Bootlicker Taylor says, calling out emotional fans' delusion is not defending a coach. No, your comment was defending the coach when you write in, Jake didn't want to bring up the day 3 guys that hit in year 1. No one hit in year 1. Can you sit here and tell me Malachi Moore is definitely starting week 1 for the Jets in 2027? Or 2026, excuse me? If he does, I think that'd be pretty disappointing. He hasn't earned a starting job. They lit picks on fire on day 3 of this year. If you want to give Glenn and Muji credit, they get credit for Membu. I think Mason Taylor's a good player and will get better. And I think AZ Thomas has some potential to be a good corner. That's all you could say. Arian Smith, Tyler Barron, Malagoa. These guys were awful picks. Awful. Spencer Green says, please send this chat to Dave Brigger for coffee today. What a generous guy that Spencer Green is. More calls. Ladies and gentlemen, let's say hello to this man.
Don't let go of the rope. What rope are you talking about? This whole team looks like it's shot to shit. Who the hell do you think you are? I am. A Few Good Men, 1992. Great movie. Tom Cruise, Jack Nicholson. The only man that ever could say that goes, yeah, you can't handle the truth. We live in a wall of society with walls and everything else. Who else is you weep for Santiago? Who are you going to protect? Weinberger. That's a great movie, by the way. Very great movie. Won an Academy Award and won an Oscar, by the way. And right now we are at frigid -4 degrees, also known as -4. But Ty Simpson, no chance, no deal, not gonna happen. Go back to school, kid. Give it another year or 2, and then we'll give you a decision. But until then, back to school. Sorry, that's what it's gonna be. And for this weekend, it's going to be a frozen thunder weekend, so why not? Might as well bust out the old Terminators, some old Star Wars stuff, and maybe a movie of Jaws. But, good luck going down there next weekend if you're going down to Alabama. Aren't you going to do any golfing down there? What are you going to do down there in Alabama most of the time?
Just walk around.
Walk around? Well, since you're down there anyway, since you're near the Gulf of America, why don't you try some get yourself some seafood? Are you allergic to seafood?
Not all seafood.
Oh, okay. I know you're allergic to some things. You don't like nuts. You don't like squirrel nuts. You don't like peanuts. Is that correct?
These nuts.
Okay. Whoa. Back up. Well, I'll tell you right now. If this team don't get its shit together, and Berger was right about this, we basically might as well become the epitome of a laughingstock to the embarrassment of the United States. And while Woody's sitting there in his 80-year-old dementia hiatus chair going, maybe I don't know what I'm going to do next. Well, I'll tell you what you could do, Woody. Why don't you go down to the nearest drugstore, buy about 100 pack of hearing aids, and put them in your ear, run it too, and maybe turn up the volume about up to a nearby 10, and maybe we can yell at you a couple more times to tell you you're not worthy, man. You're old. You're senile. You don't want to listen. You're just a stubborn old man.
Hey, Beast, lift up your arms. You got quite the hole in that shirt.
No, don't worry. It's a sleeping shirt. Don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. It's not a no-brainer. But I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm gonna tell you this. If this team don't get its head out of its big ass, we are gonna be laughed at again by every newspaper in the United States, from the Los Angeles Tribune, Chicago Tribune, the New Jersey Gazette, the New York Post, the New York Times, the Boston Herald, the Washington Post. Every newspaper will put in quote in the front page: New York Jets blow another season. Yeah. Tweet. Stringing the cheese.
Thank you very much, Beast. Jets Johnny's next. Hello, Johnny.
Come on, Jay. Just straight into it. No intro, no nothing. Just right to me, man. After that's crazy.
Gotta keep it
Does
rolling.
anybody know what Beast said? Does anybody know what his point was? Because I'm struggling to figure that one out. That was kind of crazy, man.
Well, he wanted to discuss what I'm doing in Alabama.
I guess you're right. You're right. There is that. Yeah, in Alabama. Jake, who are you most
tongues are those,
excited?
by the way?
I'm sorry?
Whose tongues are that behind you? What is that? Is it
Oh,
brains?
that's our bootlicker boot right there, Jake. So
What is that?
I was gonna get into that later, but we'll get right into it. So, Mr. Bonesy, this is a personal request to you, my man. I need you guys to take this, make me a boot, so that when the Jets go 8-9, Jake Asman could take it over to Aaron Glenn and get it signed, and that would be perfect for me. So Mr. Bonesy, if you can make that happen, I would appreciate it. But Jake, who are you most excited to see in Alabama at the Senior Bowl? Do you got a guy in mind?
Bailey and Bain, because I think
Yeah.
they're both in play at 2. And then quarterback wise, Nussmeier, because I think he could play himself into the conversation with one of the second round picks.
Okay, second round pick. So all this craziness, I think I think Fernando Mendoza is not that guy, right? I don't think he's worth the 1-1 pick, but if you're the Raiders, you have to take him. So I think all this talk about Mendoza slipping, falling is nonsense.
Would you
He's
take
gonna
him
go.
at 2 if you could just get him?
It's hard to say no, right? Like it's hard to just be like,
Well, you
I
call him
don't.
Mendoza. That's why I was curious. You don't think he's any good?
Well, no. It's not that I don't. Mid doesn't mean I think he's trash, right? Mid just means I think he's average. I don't see him as this superstar game changer. Like if I'm taking a quarterback 1-1, I need to see superstar potential. What I see in Mendoza is like if he's a starter for a few years, like 7-8 years, you'll take that, and I think that's his ceiling. So I'm not gonna take that guy at 1-1. But again, you need a quarterback. It's a crapshoot. I could be dead wrong, right? He could get the right coaching. I know we disagree, AG, whatever, right? But he could get that thing and he could develop, right? So we've seen it before.
Well, it wouldn't be with
So
the Jets until 2027 at the earliest.
right. So it's hard to, if the Raiders pass on him, it's hard to be the Jets sitting there at 2 and pass on him. But I think if we're living in reality, he's gone. So we're stuck at 2. And to me, you have to take the best defensive player. Whoever Aaron Glenn and Muji identify as that best player. I don't care about position. Obviously, I don't want Sonny Styles, like middle linebacker, so I'm gonna like kind of eat my words there a little bit. But like Sonny Styles, I don't know so much at 2. But like, bro, Caleb Downs, give it to me. I don't care. Arvell Reese, even though I'm not the biggest believer in him, give him to me. Bailey, Bain, whoever they think is the best defensive player, I think that's what you have to do at 2. I don't agree with the wide receiver because to me, that's the one position you could draft and not improve this team at 2, right? If I take Carnell Tate at 2, there's no guarantee that he's better than Garrett Wilson, right? So I don't know that at 2 I'm improving my team. But if you take David Bailey, that's an instant improvement. Arvell Reese, instant improvement. Bain, instant improvement. So to me, I would identify wide receiver and free agency and maybe at 33 or 44 later on in the draft, but I'm not taking a wide receiver at 2, man. And I love Carnell Tate. I think he's great, but I wouldn't touch him at 2.
Yeah, look, it's all fair. I'm open to taking a receiver at 2 though, because again, if you don't take Tate at 2, he's probably going 4 or 5 or 6. And I don't
Yeah.
think it's a big difference.
So, but who would you think would make a bigger impact? Like a guy like David Bailey or Ruben Bain or a guy like, Carnell Tate? Like
I think it's an offensive league. I think the wide receiver might.
but we don't got a quarterback to get him the ball, right? So at that
Not
point,
yet, but we will. We're building
uh,
we're building our team for that quarterback, regardless who
right.
it is.
Would you take Ty Simpson at 16?
I would not.
No,
I would not. And again, my opinion during the year, as it was playing out, was they got to come away with a quarterback. But
right.
That was based on there being better options and Glenn improving as a coach, which we saw none of. So I don't want to let them pick a developmental quarterback when I don't believe in the coach. I'd rather wait till we get a new regime or at least a new coaching staff. And we have 3 1s in 2027. I do think, while it's risky, I do think next year's class is going to be better than this year. I just think by law of averages, it will be. So that's why my opinion went from steadfast on you got to get the quarterback this year to things happened. Dante Moore went back to school. Ty Simpson didn't play great down the stretch, and he only has 15 career starts. The overall data tells me that that's not the right move. Certainly not to do at 2, but I wouldn't do it at 16.
Yeah,
I'll take a quarterback, but I'd do it at 33 or 44 before I do it in the first round.
Yeah, I think if I could get Ty Simpson at 44, that would be perfect because then he loses that first round mystique of where, oh, you're a first round quarterback, you got to come in, you got to deliver right away. I think people would be more willing to let him sit and develop, which is what he needs. Like, I don't even hate Ty Simpson like that. I think he's all right. You look, he's got the arm.
I don't hate him either. I
it-
don't think he's bad. I just think it's a huge risk for the Jets, given where
Yeah.
they're at as a franchise, to burn a top 16 pick on a guy. And when Peter Schrager says, oh, if it doesn't work out, you could just take another one next year. That's not how you build your football team.
No,
like, I want to
no.
get a guy who's a starter for me for the next 5 years at a premium position in the top 16 in the draft.
Facts, because if you don't take edge at 2, like let's say we go with your plan, we take Carnell Tate at 2, then you got to address defense at 16. Like, you can't waste that pick on Ty Simpson. It's not Ty Simpson, bro. Like that's crazy. So I agree with you with that. My only thing that I'm still off on is you don't seem to be too hot on Dante Moore, right? So him leaving this draft, I don't get why that changes your opinion so much, because I think, like, with me and Allen, our point was like just not to overdraft a quarterback, right? Regardless of who's there and whatever, right? Like, you just don't want to reach on a quarterback just to take one because there's one there, right? Like, that would be, in my opinion, what taking Ty Simpson at 2 would be, right? Because he's probably the second best quarterback in this draft. So you say, oh, we just take him at 2 because he's a quarterback. So I think that was my and Allen's point. So I don't quite understand why now Dante Moore's gone, who you seem a little bit off on.
I like Dante Moore better than I do Ty Simpson.
Right.
My opinion was
I agree
never
with you.
but like, here's what you guys don't seem to ever bring up when you bring up that opinion. I've said over and over again, get the quarterback, but you don't just take one for the sake of taking one. You got to like the quarterback. I personally don't like Ty Simpson enough to take him number 2 or number 16. I don't. And I don't love Dante Moore either, but at least it was more understandable because I think he's better than Simpson as a prospect, at least. But I still don't love that because, again, when we were having these conversations back in October, Allen's talking about Lenoris Sellers being the top quarterback. So things change, man. All right. That's my point. We now have all this new information. So my opinion's obviously going to evolve over time. If you can't accept that, or I think I've been very clear on my stance on this.
No, I accept it, right? Like, obviously I agree with you, right? Like, you should pivot, you should move, you should, when new information is presented to you, you should take that in and it should sway your opinion. That's what an intelligent person does. So that's why I don't get why people are on AG for getting rid of people and pivoting and stuff like that. I get that we don't think he's a good coach and whatever, but it's like, yo, at least he has some sort of self-awareness to realize, okay, this guy's not the guy, even though I brought him in, and now he's gonna go try to get a new guy.
But they started 0-7 though, and that's why they pivoted. They never should have been 0-7.
Agreed. They should have never been 0-7. But I think if we're just looking at the results, then we're doing a disservice to ourselves, because I think what's more important than results is the process. It's what you're doing day in and day out.
I thought their
And
process sucked, though.
did the draft process suck though?
Their day 3 process certainly sucked.
But so my thing with day 3 is like it's always hit or miss, right? Like how many day 3 picks hit? Like we can say Antonio
Yeah,
Brown,
but the Jets
Tom
have
Brady.
historically been bad, and I got to find the article. I think it was a Jet X story that came out about
Mhm.
just the Jets' ineptitude on day 3 of the draft and how it compares to other teams. This has been a problem for a while. Other than quarterback, it's a common trend that part of the reason the Jets have been as bad as they've been is that they don't have the Jericho Cotries that they're getting
Right.
on day 3. The last time they hit on a day 3 pick was probably Quincy Enunwa in the 6th round, and he unfortunately had a short-lived career because of injuries. Like,
Shout out Quincy Enunwa.
but like that's how you build your team. You got to find the Eric Smiths and the Brad
Right.
Smiths, and you got to find the guys that are like the Matt Slausens that are depth pieces that are good starters for you. We don't ever find those guys, and they lit day 3 picks on fire, including trading up for some of these guys we're mentioning too. That's my criticism. Arian Smith can't play, dude. They used a 4th round pick on him. That's not a nothing pick.
No, I agree. The Arian Smith thing is a little concerning, right? But I look at the draft in totality, right? And I'm looking at it, what did you do? Like the most important pick was 7, right? Was Armand Membu, and I think we all agree he played great. Like what more do you want from your rookie right tackle than what Armand
Sure,
Membu did?
100%. But like,
You know?
like even the worst executives still did some things right. Like
Right,
that's
right.
not like we're evaluating the grand picture. Year 1 for Glenn and Muji. Would you say it was a success? Would you say like of course not?
I'd give him like a C minus, and
And you're
that's
probably more
being.
generous than most, and you're a
And
Glenn
no,
defender.
I'd say it like I'm being really generous with the C minus.
And
Like
hence my
I'm
point this entire time.
yeah. I'm not delusional in that aspect. I'm not one of these guys that think Aaron Glenn had a great year and I see his clear vision and everything's crystal clear. That's never been me. But what I also think is that Aaron Glenn didn't get a fair shake. Like if I ask you to go win the Daytona 500, but I put you in the car and I give you a busted out Honda Civic, it don't matter. And if you put Jeff Gordon in that car, right? Because we're talking about coaches and stuff like that. If I give Jeff Gordon that busted out Civic, it still don't matter. Jeff Gordon ain't going nowhere with that busted out Civic in the Indy 500.
Yeah,
So
but
my
they
point
built
is,
the infrastructure that was busted
did
out, though. They
did he
did.
though?
They did.
Did he?
They chose to retain a lot of these guys.
I got you, but you also can't just flip an entire roster in a
But
whole
who
year.
got better on this team? Where were we seeing development, improvement? What are tangible things we could point to that we saw that? Come on,
I, I
man.
I mean, okay. If you're asking me to pick one, I would say the running game was good. I could say you could
They
look at
finished
that.
10th in rushing
That's good, right?
and
Well, we got
32nd in passing.
okay, right. And so that was the issue, right? The issue is we didn't have a
But
quarterback.
what's way more
But
important? But why
I think
didn't they
Pat.
have a quarterback?
Well, because we went with Justin Fields and he didn't pan out. But like, but
Who
that's
made
fine.
that decision?
But in the offseason, everybody was fine with Justin Fields, right? We all agreed out of the shit
Not
that was
everyone.
left.
Not everyone.
Not everyone. Nothing's 100%, but people were okay with the decision making process with
Yeah, but
Justin
not
Fields
the
because
contract.
was the contract that bad though? Like
Not
30 million?
yeah, it was. You just handed him a starting job. Look what Daniel Jones signed for. Look
That
what Sam
see
Darnold
now
signed
that
for.
that I agree with you. That is something that I disagreed with AG and that I think was bad and a bad process was guaranteeing him the starting job. They should have never done that. They should have made it a competition for him. But
Again,
I think
Johnny, I can't I can't relitigate the whole season with you. All
yeah,
right.
yeah, no, I got you. I
Like
got you.
you gave him a C minus. That's fine. Let's hope he gets better. Otherwise, it's gonna be another brutal year. And if it is a brutal year, there's light at the end of the tunnel because they got 3 first-round picks. They'll have a new head coach. They'll have a new quarterback, and we'll go from there. But I can't relitigate the entire season. You yourself, who was a Glenn Bootlicker, self-proclaimed there with your background, said that you'd give him a C minus for the year. So what are we debating? The smallest of nuances of things we could point to being a slight positive. They won 3 fucking games, dude. I can't listen to it anymore. All right, we're moving on. God damn. Frank, close us out because I have a million things to do today and I can't do this anymore. I'm losing my mind.
I just want to know when the bar became so low that pick number 7 is something to be so like happy about. Yeah, Membu is a great player, but like any draft person could have said we were taking Armand Membu at 7. like great. I'm so happy that we could pick someone at pick number 7 and him be good. Like that should be like a bare minimum, right? Don't you think?
100%. Yeah, you're supposed to
Like
hit on your top 7 picks in the draft.
like that is ridiculous. I mean, if you really think about it, would you take Harold Fanning over Mason Taylor?
Yes.
So did he really make a great pick in the second round? Because Harold Fanning went after Mason Taylor.
Yeah, but there could be multiple good players in the draft. So I like
I
again.
understand that, and I'm not even killing him for Mason Taylor. Like I'm just saying that, like, is he really that great of an evaluator? Yeah, AZ Thomas might be a good cornerback. Like the draft wasn't that amazing. Like, and then day 3 is a disaster, kind of. So, like, did he really do that great of a draft? I think everybody's really hyping it up, but because Membo was so good, but great. Like, you can pick a number 7. Like, that shouldn't be like that should be bare minimum. Like, the bar is just really low.
We lost you, Frank. Good call. Yeah, again, the bar is super low. Like the bar from the head coach himself is low. He was asked for the positives of the season, and the fourth thing he mentioned was they didn't have any field goals blocked this year. That actually happened. That's not some bit. That's where this all comes from. That's why we're all enraged as fans. You have all these openings around the league. Coaches so much better than Aaron Glenn still available, and they kept him. That's why the fan base is disgusted. And the Glenn bootlickers could defend anything, but the reality is they were historically bad by every metric you want to use. And the outlier that Glenn would be if he ever became a good head coach would be astronomically unlikely in league history. Again, there's only been 2 coaches since 2001 that won 4 or fewer games in year 1. 2 of 29 that ever won a playoff game. That's what sucks. Jake West says, no, you are disgusted. It's not the whole. Of course, it's not the whole fan base. It's a lot of the fan base. It's the majority of the fan base. You are in the minority, Jake West. Accept that. Don't act like I'm just the only one who's disgusted. Believe me, it's not true. The vast majority of the fan base thinks Aaron Glenn is a terrible head coach. You might not be disgusted, but I don't believe you represent the minority of the fan base. Not even close. Wild Chew is all in his feels. Yeah, don't pin your feelings on us just because you want to act like a woman. Yes, giving an opinion now is acting like a woman. Wild Chew, you lack brain cells. But thanks for watching the show every day. Really appreciate it. Jay Quest says, I think he needs to improve for sure. I'm sure. Yeah, a great take. I would agree with you, Jay Quest. Let's end with some agreement. Aaron Glenn does need to improve as a head coach. I think we all could agree. From the Glenn haters to the Glenn bootlickers.
Well, he's a bootlicker, Glenn Butt Sniffer, putting perfume on a pig and telling Jake, check his say. He's a bootlicker, Aaron Glenn truther, holding out a rope and trying to sell us on this shit show.
Fun show, kinda. Wild takes today. Thanks to everyone for watching. We'll be back this afternoon. Dom C will join us for a little Senior Bowl preview as we're going to be out there next week, breaking it all down. I will talk to you guys soon. Go Jets. Let's get to our guy, Lou B, who's on the line. Hello, Lou. Let's get to our guy, Lou B, who's on the line. Hello, Lou. What story are you going to say this week that's going to be wildly inappropriate?
I want to be on the 69 team. Let me tell you why. Number one, I know every inch of Long Island, Jake. There's not a street you could say. I performed 69 in Long Island dozens of times, obviously. I own a black van.
What? Calm your freaky down.
I own a black van for abductions. I know what Starbucks that Tomlin goes to. I need to be I just wanted to be considered for the 69 team.
Look, we got Tomlinson. He ain't getting out of here. Get comfortable, pal, because as soon as Woody wakes up, he's going to make you a rich man.
Oh, hi. Jake wants me to ask you to click on the like button.
That's right, Lane. And if they don't subscribe to the Jake Asman Show, this team may never win another game. Let's go, Jets!